Chapter 478. 2 hours after the large explosion, Battle Banner City was shaken. The Vice City Lord had led 20,000 elites with a shocking aura, a sea of killing intent, and a domineering aura, but in the end, they were instantly blasted to nothing. A resounding slap slapped the faces of everyone in Battle Banner City, stunning everyone. Who would have thought that Miracle City would have this kind of courage? Who would have thought that Miracle City would have this kind of strength? Who would have thought that Miracle City would do this kind of thing? This kind of large-scale destruction, it was like a surgical attack. If it fell on Battle Banner City, wouldn't it be enough for the orcs to suffer? Not only did this explosion send the Battle Banner City elites flying, it also made Miracle City famous in the center of the Forest of Chaos. Those local powers and large tribes felt like there was a sword hanging over their heads. As long as Miracle City was willing, they could easily destroy any large forest tribe. This explosion was like telling the forest that the weak green city no longer existed. Miracle City had the qualifications, ability, and courage to stand among the cities in the forest. Don't think that Miracle City was a weak little rabbit, otherwise they would end up like Battle Banner City's 20,000 troops. Battle Banner City hadn't even started a war with Miracle City and they had already suffered such a large loss. The orcs were naturally filled with shock and anger as the entire city began to discuss this. Cal was sitting in the city lord's throne carved from dragon bones, currently listening to the report sent by the scouts with closed eyes. The surrounding generals and tribe leaders were already arguing. The entire army was wiped out without a single survivor. Miracle City really is ruthless. What method did they use? Have you investigated it clearly? Where did Miracle City get this kind of strength from? The orcs were all filled with rage. They wanted to immediately lead their army to kill Miracle City, but they were afraid of Miracle City's method of attack. Enough, shut up. Cow slowly opened his dark red eyes, but there was no change in his eyes. This matter might not be a bad thing for us. 20,000 elites being slaughtered wasn't a bad thing. The city lord's little brother had also died in Brambleflower Town. Of course, no one dared mention this matter, they just silently waited for the city lord to continue. Cow revealed a cold smile, exchanging 20,000 people for a good chance is worth it. We can use this reason to attack Miracle City and force Miracle City to surrender. This time, even the Elven King should have nothing to say. City Lord, you've seen Miracle City's weapons. Under this kind of bombardment, the army doesn't have any ability to resist. Our army might be blown to ashes before we reach Miracle City. The other half-orcs and the chief nodded vigorously. Miracle City had this kind of strength and weapon, it was more than enough to attack Battle Banner City. Shouldn't they be considering what kind of weapon it was and how to deal with it? Surround them. How could they do that? Once Battle Banner City's army gathered in large numbers, they might be attacked immediately. If my guesses aren't wrong, this kind of attack consumes a lot of Miracle City's energy. They can't attack many times, otherwise they wouldn't have bombed a trivial 20,000 army and would have directly bombed Battle Banner City. Cow softly said, we don't need to mobilize the army, we just need to gather the elites of the elites and form several dozen wolf teams. They will attack Miracle City from different directions, destroying their lives and production. Let Miracle City's economy collapse and then force them to surrender. It was the right thing to do. Battle Banner City did not need to fight Miracle City. One was that Miracle City had powerful aerial weapons and the other was that Battle Banner City didn't want a ruin. Miracle City's bombardment ability was still unknown, so using a large army to attack Miracle City was very risky. The best method was to gather the elites of the elites and destroy the enemy's rear in groups of several dozen. Battle Banner City was very strong, with experts like clouds in a forest. Miracle City couldn't do anything at all. Cow didn't wait for the others to express their opinions and immediately gave his orders, have the Air Force monitor Battle Banner City's airspace 24 hours a day. Battle Banner City's city protecting barrier will be prepared to be activated at any time. Other than that, each army will gather warriors above the 100-man commander level and 3,000 people to form a wolf assault team. They will attack Miracle City quickly and accurately, don't directly clash with Miracle City's army. We will retreat when the enemy advances, we will advance when the enemy retreats, and we will attack when the enemy is tired. We will use guerrilla warfare to destroy all production and life, creating fear and chaos. On Miracle City's side, Meng Qingguo had been paying close attention to the Bramble Flower Town negotiations. When she knew that Chu Tian had given the order to bombard the city, Meng Qingguo's heart sank and she knew that the negotiations had already collapsed. 0. Immediately send the order. Close all production inside and outside the city and have all the troops prepare for battle, preventing a surprise attack from Battle Banner City. Understood, Sir Vice City Lord. After Meng Qingguo finished arranging everything, she returned to the transport tower in the city. Chu Tian had already brought Nan Gongyan back. When Chu Tian saw Meng Qingguo, he greeted her, "Young miss, how was the fireworks I set off? What did you do?" Meng Qingguo had a look of resentment on her face. "Why did you directly bombard them? Didn't we agree that no matter how unreasonable the other side's conditions were, we would pretend to compromise first and stall for time for miracle commerce? They would give us at least a week to manufacture the source energy bombs. If we fall out now, we'll be in big trouble. Big sister Qingguo, you don't know how hateful those fellows are." Nan Gongyan had already changed into a new set of clothes. "I think boss did the right thing, we should blow those bastards to death." Meng Qingguo rubbed her forehead. "This bombing is satisfying, but it will bring at least 3 bad consequences. First, we will expose the power of the Heaven's punishment airships too early and we won't be able to attack Battle Banner City. Second, the Eternal Forest will be very dissatisfied with us. Not only will they not send an army to help us, they might even stop the Elven King from making a move. Third, Battle Banner City will have a perfect excuse and opportunity. The battle between the two cities will break out early. This will make us very passive." Battle Banner City was afraid of the power behind Miracle City. Although the Eternal Forest was only in name, the Elven King had given the city to Chu Tian and made his daughter the Vice City Lord, which meant that the Elven King was very supportive of Chu Tian. In other words, if the two cities started fighting and Battle Banner City took the initiative to attack Miracle City. With Vivian's relationship, the Elven King could bypass the council and personally come to help. Even if it was the Elven King alone, it was not a small deterrent to Battle Banner City. After all, he was a peak expert of the Eternal Forest. This explosion changed the nature of the explosion. Although Battle Banner City first harassed Miracle City did not have any evidence. This time Battle Banner City had an alliance with Miracle City, but Miracle City killed 20,000 of the other side's people in one fell swoop. This was clearly giving Battle Banner City a reason to invade Miracle City. Miracle City's City Lord had treacherously set a trap. 20,000 elites and Vice City Lords had been killed. This reason was too good. The Elven Council was inflexible. In order to protect the Eternal Forest's reputation, not only would they not send out the Elven army, they would also stop the Elven King from interfering. This bombing seemed like Miracle City had gained a large advantage, but it was actually pushing them over a cliff. If they weren't careful, they would fall to pieces. Blowing up Battle Banner City's 20,000 soldiers will bring quite a bit of benefits. First, it will deal a heavy blow to Battle Banner City, lowering their arrogance and making it so that they won't dare send a large army to attack us in the short term. Second, it will raise Miracle City's morale, restoring the surrounding locals' confidence in Miracle City. Third, Miracle City's name will spread throughout the forest in one fell swoop, especially to the small and medium-sized powers. Battle Banner City's attempts to rope in the surrounding small powers to surround Miracle City won't work. Meng Qingguo found that there was no use talking to Chu Tian about this. Since the bombing had already been done, there was no use saying anything else. If I was Cao, after seeing Miracle City's large-scale attack, I wouldn't dare send a large army, but I would investigate while sending elite troops to attack. How should we deal with this situation? The small harassment from Battle Banner City in the past few days had caused quite a bit of trouble for Miracle City. This matter had become this big, Battle Banner City would definitely increase their strength by 100 times. Miracle City's production couldn't continue and there was even the danger of being completely destroyed. It was easy to dodge a spear in the open but hard to defend against a hidden arrow. If the two cities sent out their armies to fight, Meng Qinggu wouldn't be afraid of them. The problem was that the terrain of the forest was very complex, so it was impossible to defend against this kind of lone wolf attack. Relax, I have a way. How is the work on Yingying's side going? The undead towers have already been constructed. Alright, let's go take a look. Meng Yingying had been busy directing the construction of the undead towers over the past few days. The blueprints were provided by Chu Tian and the resources were supported by the barrier. Meng Yingying could create a death-attributed source spirit, so she could personally join in. Chu Tian had made large modifications to the Lich's undead towers. The main undead tower was built outside the core of the undead ruins and the other undead towers were scattered around Miracle City. The main undead tower transmitted energy through the underground spiritual veins, forming a defensive line around Miracle City. Of course, the defensive value of the undead towers wasn't high. This was because the undead towers were too sparse, it wasn't enough to form a defensive zone around Miracle City. Meng Qinggu was very confused by Chu Tian's design. Rather than this, it would be better to be like the Lich, gathering large amounts of undead towers in one place and releasing their energy into the sky, creating an area of effect attack. Meng Qinggu was confused, but she didn't question this. These undead towers had been personally modified by Chu Tian and Chu Tian's modifications couldn't be worse than the Lich's, so there had to be a reason for this arrangement. Chapter 479. The crater around Miracle City was now called the Miracle Mountain Range. The Miracle Mountain Range was a standard circle, with a circumference of around 6,000 kilometers. The highest peak was close to 10,000 meters and the widest was over 100 kilometers. Most of the locals and tribes related to Miracle City were in the range of the Miracle Mountain Range. Those outsiders that came to Miracle City, most of them moved their tribes to the Miracle Mountain Range. The mines, factories, and farms that Miracle City worked with the locals were mostly in this range. Therefore, the Miracle Mountain Range and Miracle City would form an inseparable entity in the future, just like a small independent kingdom. Miracle City only developed in the crater and didn't extend their tentacles to the outside world, so it was reasonable to say that they wouldn't touch the interests of other powers. They never thought that they wouldn't be able to avoid fighting and killing like this. Miracle City hadn't been developed for a long time, so the city's defenses hadn't been built yet. This weak time was when Miracle City was most vulnerable to being attacked. So Miracle City's managers had to think of a way to strengthen the city's defenses. The method Chu Tian thought of was to use the undead towers. The terrain and environment of this world were mostly related to the direction of the spirit veins in the ground. The main peaks of the Miracle Mountain Range were where the spirit veins intersected. After Chu Tian modified the undead towers, he first built a main tower in the undead ruins. The undead energy was like water being pumped out of a well. Chu Tian's modified undead towers were like giant water storage tanks and the spirit veins in Miracle City were like water pipes, allowing the water to flow. The undead towers were built on the main peaks of the Miracle Mountain Range, allowing the energy to be sent to the towers through the spirit veins. The energy contained in the undead ruins was very strong and water could carry a boat, but it could also capsize a boat. The energy contained in the undead ruins could almost destroy Miracle City in the past, so it could also protect the entire city. The undead towers could control the undead, but there was a limit to their range. If the undead towers were built in the undead ruins, the undead would only be able to move around the undead ruins, which would be very useless. Now that the undead towers had been improved, not only had their corrosive and polluting properties been reduced, Chu Tian could even surround Miracle City with large amounts of undead towers. This way they could form a ring of defense around Miracle City and because there were large amounts of minerals in the mountains, they could borrow the hands of the undead to mine them. Wasn't this the best of both worlds? Meanwhile, in the Miracle Mountain Range. They stood on a main peak and their field of vision was filled with green peaks, strange rocks, waterfalls, and precipitous cliffs that were like broken blades and spears. There was a sea of clouds and deep ravines. This kind of complex terrain, although it was hard to pass through, if the enemy was strong enough, they could hide themselves and Miracle City wouldn't be able to find them. This mountain forest is the industrial park created by Miracle City and the locals. Meng Qinggu looked at the uninhabited wilderness in front of her and said, even though there aren't any strong beasts in the Miracle Mountain range, but because there are many demon beasts, we can't directly open a factory in the forest. Therefore, the factories have to be built near the mountains or in the middle of the mountains, so it can't be seen from the surface. Miracle City's mountain range was large enough, there were many resources, and there weren't any strong wild beasts, so it was an excellent place. But to the Battle Banner City experts, it wasn't hard for them to sneak in and cause damage. The enemy was in the light while they were in the dark. Once they caused damage, they would immediately find a ravine to hide in and Miracle City wouldn't be able to find them. That's right. They had too few people. It would be good if the Green Religion had more green protectors. These strong puppets' battle strength wasn't bad, almost reaching the true spirit realm. They were just slow, but they could be used as tools for defense. It was a pity that even the Green Religion at their peak only had 2,000–3,000 green protectors, which was only enough to protect the city and the main roads into the city. And now, perhaps they couldn't even protect the city. Miracle City's mountain range was this big and there was a mountain forest around it. How many green protectors would be needed to completely defend it? When Chu Tian was thinking about this, Meng Yingying ran over and reported, Chu Tian, it's done. You can go in and take a look. There was a cave behind them and there was a tall tower in the center. From the tower's appearance and aura, it was the Undead Tower. Only the Undead Tower had a slight change in appearance after being modified by Chu Tian and the aura it released was not as cold and evil. There were also many translucent spirit creatures surrounding the Undead Tower. Meng Qinggu could vaguely feel the energy released by the Undead Tower which should be used to control the undead monsters. So, if there was an Undead Tower in this area, the undead could move around for a long time. Of course, Miracle Commerce didn't have many undead right now, so the spirits surrounding the Undead Tower were recently made. Nangong Yun looked at the Undead Tower with curiosity. Boss, why did you build the Undead Tower here? The Undead Tower itself has a defensive ability and it can release energy to attack Ru Qing at a critical moment. Other than that, it can provide large amounts of energy for the undead to fight. If we can build several thousand of these undead towers in the ring-shaped mountains in the next year or two, the effect won't be inferior to a city-protecting barrier. City-protecting barrier? Meng Qingwu's eyes lit up, so you're saying that this undead tower itself is a kind of city defense? For the cities in the Forest of Chaos, whether it was a forest city or an underground city, the city walls did not have much meaning. They couldn't defend against invaders or demon beasts. But most of the strong cities had their own city-protecting barrier. This kind of barrier could cover a large area of the city and ensure the city's stability. This kind of large-scale barrier was very difficult to arrange. This was like the Great Zhou country's large Sex Mountain Protection Barrier. It would require a large amount of time and energy. When Green City was at its peak, they could use the green protectors to arrange a semicircle barrier that had no dead angles, ensuring the safety of the entire city. Now that the Green Religion was weakening, they could only set up a barrier at the entrance to the city. They couldn't cover the entire city, not to mention the surrounding mountain range. It's too late for us to create a barrier now. Meng Qinggu knit her brows. With our current talent and resources, no matter how fast we are, it will be hard to complete it in a year. Distant water cannot quench present thirst. Young miss, I'm not stupid, of course I won't create a barrier to defend against enemies. Chu Tian revealed a mysterious smile as he walked beside the Undead Tower. This Undead Tower has an important ability after being modified that can make up for our weakest link. What ability? Detection. Chu Tian said, do you see the spirits surrounding the Undead Tower? These undead spirits were deliberately added by me. They looked up at the Undead Tower. There were large amounts of spirits quickly moving around the undead tower, just like a protective layer of the undead tower. Chu Tian continued to explain, spirits do not have physical senses, they can use a kind of spiritual wave to detect life and energy to detect the existence of objects. They are especially sensitive to life detection. Could it be? Meng Qinggu looked at the undead tower. You're using their ability to detect the entire area? That's right. This ability will be amplified by tens of thousands of times through the undead tower. Within a range of several hundred miles, as long as a living being enters, especially a strong body or a large number of enemies, the undead tower will be able to detect them. Chu Tian pointed at the undead tower. This spiritual radar system only needs to be connected to a normal smart brain and it will be able to detect all kinds of changes, accurately giving us information about the enemy. The undead tower's energy was the complete opposite of the energy in a living being's body. When an undead tower could detect the existence of living beings within 1,000 miles, once an expert from Battle Banner City entered, the undead tower would be able to detect them. It didn't matter if they hid in a valley or a cave, it was useless. Even normal stealth methods would be hard to cover them, not to mention that they had to show themselves and they couldn't hide forever. With the smart brain's powerful analysis ability, it would be able to accurately determine their location. Chu Tian continued to say, the little fox's divine eye can also be used at this time. If the enemy has a powerful stealth technique, we just need to determine their general location and let the little fox use its divine eye to observe them. Any stealth technique would be useless and it would be like they are standing naked in front of us. Good, this is great. We've solved this urgent problem. Meng Qinggu thought of something and said, in our gnome research base, we've recently developed living puppet beasts, it can increase our ability to defend this area. Living puppet beasts? Chu Tian and the others didn't know what it was. Meng Qinggu took out a small egg-sized bird from her pocket. This bird didn't look any different from a living being, but the others looked at it and found that it was strange. This right eye was cold and empty. These puppet beasts have cameras inside them and they have a shaman gu controlling their brains, so they can move according to our will. Each one is equivalent to a mobile surveillance device. There are already several hundred of these puppet beasts and they are all in the forest near the industrial area. Once we find a strange situation, we can investigate it from a close distance. Wow, this is great. Nan Gongyun felt that this city's warning system was simply perfect. Everyone didn't need to run around chasing after the enemies, but what can those idiots do to us? They're walking right into a trap. Chu Tian clapped his hands. All right, since the measures have been taken, everyone quickly prepare. Nan Gong, you'll have to work hard for a few days. I'll gather all the Miracle City experts and you'll be in charge of killing the mice. We want everyone to see our abilities and increase their confidence in Miracle City. No problem. There was another fight to be fought. Nan Gongyun was looking forward to this kind of work. Chapter 480. Meng Qinggu quickly brought over a smart brain. After the smart brain connected to the pagoda of the undead spiritual radar started to operate normally. The main pagoda of the undead pagoda extracted energy from the undead ruins and this energy flowed along the earth veins to the main peaks of the ring-shaped mountain. These undead towers on the main peaks extracted energy and after being transformed by the source energy array, the 100 specters' detection abilities increased by a large amount. Finally they could send out a detection wave every 2 seconds. The data collected was too large. A normal spiritual body couldn't tell it at all. Miracle Commerce's smart brain was used. The smart brain itself was a spiritual body and after connecting to the undead tower, the smart brain could collect all the data and analyze it, creating a simulated image. After a few hours of collecting, the distribution map of the creatures in Miracle Mountain Ridge was basically presented. The life forms below the 7th awakened soul layer were screened out, eliminating 99% of the life forms. The rest were processed by the smart brain and finally created a creature map. This map had already been created. If new life forms came in, the undead radar would be able to detect them. The fluctuations of demon beasts were different from intelligent life forms, so they only needed to focus on the fluctuations of intelligent life forms. In the city lord's castle's dining hall, Chu Tian was currently eating with everyone. Yingying, eat more of this, it can help your chest grow. Pay, I don't need it. Yingying said this, but she stuffed it into her mouth and swallowed it in 2-3 bites. Then she ate several mouthfuls of the high-quality spirit rice produced by the elves to cover it up, as if she hadn't done anything. Chu Tian laughed from the side and the others all had smiles on their faces. Yingying's face instantly turned red. Nangong Yun revealed a look of envy. I just found out that boss is already with Yingying, I really envy you all. I'm already 20 years old and I still don't have anything to look forward to. You also worry about this kind of thing? I thought only the young miss would. Before Chu Tian could finish, the young miss fiercely stuffed a chicken leg into his mouth and glared at him at the same time. Eat your food, don't speak nonsense. I am also a woman, alright. Nangong Yun was very dissatisfied with Chu Tian's words. Which woman in the world doesn't want to find the best husband? Yingying, I really envy you. Why didn't I meet boss first? I don't think anyone wants me. If I can't get married in the future, I might as well ask boss to take me in as a concubine. I don't want a title, I don't care about that. Puff. Chu Tian spat out the chicken drumstick. Meng Yingying was also stunned. Everyone already knew that this demoness had a big mouth, but they didn't expect her to say something like that. No matter what, Nangong Yun was still a great beauty. Other than being a little fierce, she was definitely in line with the mainstream aesthetics of the continent. How could no one want her? Nangong Yun saw everyone's expression and solemnly said, I'm very serious, Yingying, you won't dislike me, right? I'm absolutely loyal to boss. I can enter the bedroom, leave the hall, and even fight. Meng Yingying scratched her head and was a bit embarrassed. Our relationship is this good and we're already sworn sisters, how could I dislike you? I've always felt that it's good for everyone to live together. Chu Tian, what do you think? Fuck, since Yingying says this, then what else do I have to say? You. The young Miss fiery eyes swept over at this time and Chu Tian felt like his tongue had been nailed shut. Yingying was soft-hearted and easy to talk to, but that didn't mean other people were easy to talk to. He could only give an embarrassed smile. Let's eat first, let's eat first. This is a matter of ethics, we'll talk about it later. Nangong Yun was a bit disappointed. But she was a bit thick-skinned, so she didn't care too much. When everyone's atmosphere became a bit awkward, a voice suddenly sounded in the dining hall. City Lord, Vice City Lord, the second miracle has already completed the life form map of the undead radar. Should we take it out now? This was the smart brain that the second miracle had just sent over. This entire city defense system was completed by the second miracle. Although the second miracle's authority and power couldn't compare to Zero, it was still a complete smart brain, so there was no need to doubt its ability. Meng Qinggu stood up. Let it out first to take a look. Understood, Sir Vice City Lord. As soon as Zero's voice fell, several image transfer mirrors came together, finally forming a giant mirror. It first showed the mountain range around Miracle City and then there were large amounts of different lights scattered across it. Nangong Yun and Meng Yingying looked at the dense light and felt dizzy, feeling a bit like trypophobia. Perhaps only a fellow with a super abnormal calculation like smart brain could calculate the amount and intensity. Zero's emotionless voice rang out, this is the life form distribution map of the Miracle Mountain Range. The intensity of the light represents the strength of the life forms and we have calculated that there are 5,631 true spirit realm beings. Impossible. Meng Yingying put down her chopsticks. How could there be this many true spirit realm experts? You must have made a mistake. Smart brain can't be wrong. Meng Qinggu shook her head. Although she was shocked by the data, she still believed in smart brain's calculations. Most of these are demon beasts. That's right, Vice City Lord. Zero's calm voice slowly echoed. From the data we've already detected, there are 5,072 non-human true spirit creatures hiding in the Miracle Mountain Ridge. According to the classification of magical beasts, they are level 3 magical beasts. There are 7 of them that are high-grade level 3 demon beasts. Everyone revealed a shocked expression. High-grade level 3 demon beasts were equivalent to the spirit transformation realm in the true spirit realm. Not only were there 5,000 true spirit realm level 3 demon beasts hiding in the mountain range, there were even 7 spirit transformation realm demon beasts. This was truly too shocking. Miracle City's location was very good, so the activity of demon beasts was very low and there weren't any super fierce beasts. Even so, there was still this kind of data. It could be imagined how many demon beasts there were in the Forest of Chaos. This is too shocking. Meng Yingying said, "These demon beasts can destroy Miracle City." Chu Tian revealed a smile. "What are you so nervous about? The Miracle Mountain Range is not smaller than the great summer country's Qing State's Green Ridge. What does a few thousand level 3 demon beasts count for in such a large mountain range? This is the center of the Forest of Chaos after all. There are over 500 true spirit experts." Meng Qinggu nodded in confirmation of this data. The accuracy of the undead radar Chu Tian made should be reliable. It'll be easy to find the target like this. The enemy will likely send large amounts of true spirit experts, and once they enter, we'll be able to detect them. Let's use the highest level of detection now. Yes. 0 left. Meng Qinggu revealed a rare smile. With this undead radar in hand, Miracle City's safety will increase by at least 10 times. We can't be careless. Chu Tian reminded, there are many ways to hide the aura of life in this world, and some dark or undead creatures don't need to hide. We can only monitor the area with the life distribution map, so there is a limit to it. There was nothing perfect in this world. This detection system was already enough to make Meng Qinggu feel pleasantly surprised. After the undead radar operated for a day, the second miracle had collected more and more data. It had even grasped the movement patterns of most of the demon beasts. At this time, a strange piece of data appeared on the map and immediately attracted the attention of Smart Brain. A second one, a third one. At least several dozen pieces of data appeared. There were 200 people that matched the true spirit realm and around 2,800 people in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. This was definitely an elite team, not to mention there was a spirit transformation expert leading them. The target has appeared. They really did use this kind of tactic. Since they've walked into a trap, they can't blame us. Meng Qinggu gave an order to 0, please analyze their route. Nangong Yun will mobilize the special forces and keep in contact with headquarters. All right. Nangong Yun quickly left. Meng Qinggu locked onto the strongest team. This team was made up of 25 people and there was a spirit transformation expert among them. He should be the leader of this operation. Whether it was their identity or their threat, these fellows were undoubtedly important targets. Little Fox, go take a look. Chu Tian used the little fox's divine eye to scan from a distance. The divine sense scan made it impossible for hidden targets to hide, and it could gather information about their fighting style, allowing them to make a better battle plan. They're heading for the airship factory. Could it be that they've already found out that the airship was responsible for blowing up their 20,000 people? Meng Qinggu was surprised that this team was heading straight for the airship factory, but this surprise did not last long. She immediately gave the relevant information to Nangong Yun. They will pass through a canyon, that is the best place to ambush. Nangong, it's up to you. Remember, you have to be careful, there are spirit transformation experts among them. Nangong Yun obtained the detailed information and was filled with confidence. She held a single source energy cannon and said with an arrogant expression, looking down on Miracle City, "We'll make them pay a heavy price today. Everyone, follow me." This was an elite team of around 1,000 people. This team not only had over 50 true spirit experts, there were shamans, druids, and green religion priests. The others were all experienced soldiers in the forest, so this was definitely a very powerful team. Under Nangong Yun's lead, everyone quickly began to move. The 1,000 people placed the 4 new cannons in the canyon and also placed large amounts of mines on the ground. All kinds of preparations were done and several hundred storm rifles were on standby, with the muzzles pointed downwards. Battle Banner City's people never would have dreamed that their carefully planned route would lead them to the gates of hell. Chapter 481. 25 orcs wearing camouflage cloaks quickly moved through the forest. Their bodies were covered in scent removal medicine, so even the most sensitive wolf dogs would find it hard to detect them. These people were all true spirit realm experts. They were all famous people in Battle Banner City. Some of them were tribe leaders and some of them were famous generals. They were led by the commander of Battle Banner City's army, forming this most elite assault team. Battle Banner City's retaliatory attack had already begun. They were prepared to destroy Miracle City's outer structures in one fell swoop and create chaos. Then they would infiltrate Miracle City and capture high-level members, forcing Miracle City to compromise or surrender. Commander, we're about to reach our target. Alright, let's speed up. The body of the half-beast man commander was a size larger than that of an ordinary half-beast man. Every muscle was as tough as a rock, and its entire body was shrouded in a layer of powerful aura. Its weapon was a thick wolf-tooth mace, and every spike was dancing with sparks of electricity. There was no doubt about the energy contained within. The 25 of them were all peak experts, so their feet didn't touch the ground during the entire process. They crossed 100 meters in the blink of an eye, and no matter how steep the terrain was, it was no different from flat ground in their eyes. Although they were very fast, there was no sound of breaking the air at all. This kind of large mountain range, this kind of secret route, and this kind of silent advance, even if Miracle City knew that their outer structures would be attacked, they couldn't do anything. After all, Miracle City didn't have many troops they could use. Even if they went all out, they couldn't control the entire mountain range. Not to mention that if they split their forces, Miracle City's defenses would weaken and these Battle Banner City experts could take advantage of them. Although it was like this. But it was strange. The orc commander had a strange feeling like he was being watched, but he didn't feel any killing intent when he looked around. Other than a normal gray bird on a branch not far away, looking at these intruding beings, he didn't find anything strange at all. Was it an illusion? It should be. This kind of speed, stealth, and small-scale advance, Miracle City shouldn't be able to find them no matter how skilled they were. The orc commander thought like this as he led his troops into a canyon. They were very close now. The airship factory was at the end of the canyon. As long as they destroyed this factory and burned all the airships in the factory, Miracle City's air force would be greatly weakened. This was the reason why the commander had personally led the troops to attack this place. Enemy target confirmed. The orc great commander looked at the exit of the canyon. He could already see some leather processing sites outside the airship factory. He immediately raised his mace and roared, "Everyone, attack! Flatten it in 3 minutes." Yes. Half-beastmen's brains were weaker than humans. They didn't even understand the terrain before the great commander gave the order to attack. The 8-9 chiefs and warriors shot out like arrows. When they jumped out of the canyon, a faint source energy array appeared all around them. What? The beastmen discovered that there were a large number of talismans buried in the rock wall at the exit of the canyon. These talismans displayed their effects together and countless lines began to spread out like water seeping into a crack. In just 2 breaths of time, a giant source energy array was formed around the valley, releasing a powerful restriction that made these cultivators feel their source spirits being suppressed. This is bad, we've been ambushed. The orc great commander's face fell. Retreat. The orcs charging at the front quickly stopped their charge. Although their source spirits were temporarily restrained, these people were not ordinary people. They first stopped in the air and then quickly retreated. They stepped on the ground. When they were prepared to use their strength to break free. At this time, a powerful energy fluctuation came from under their feet. They didn't have time to react before they were swallowed by the explosion and energy. This explosion was very strong and covered a wide area. It was clear it was set up to kill them. Several Beastman powerhouses were blown to pieces on the spot, while the others were badly mutilated and heavily injured. The energy flow produced by the explosion actually swept out for several hundred meters, tearing apart all the flowers, plants, and trees. Even the others were affected to a certain extent. The Orc Great Commander felt a strange aura, two sides, there on the two sides. A large number of figures appeared on both sides of the mountain ridge. Several hundred people began to fire with their storm rifles, and there were even a few annihilator machine guns that spat out beautiful flames. Countless powerful source energy bullets were like a river flowing backwards. Even with the strength of these people, in this situation where they were caught off guard, they were beaten into a sorry state and most of them were instantly injured. The Orc Great Commander released his spirit energy in a rage, condensing a thick layer of spirit energy around him, blocking all the attacks coming at him. He shot into the sky like a rocket. This fellow was a spirit transformation expert. If they were allowed to close in, perhaps no one would be his match. Nangong Yun had already understood the situation through the reports, therefore she had been on guard against this Orc Great Commander from the start. When she saw him attack, she didn't even think as she immediately raised her source energy cannon and fired at the Great Commander. Nangong Yun's shoulder cannon was made from new energy and the terrifying recoil almost sent a violent woman like Nangong Yun flying. The giant source energy cannon shot right at the Orc Great Commander. This close. This fast speed. Even if the Orc Great Commander had the strength of a spirit transformation expert, he couldn't dodge it. He could only block it as the beam of light slammed him into the ground, creating a large hole in the ground. Although the Orc Great Commander wasn't killed, he still suffered some flesh wounds. Damn, his skin is really thick, even this can't kill him. Nangong Yun threw away the burning cannon and shouted, "Heavy cannons, where are the heavy cannons? What are you doing? Do you need this old lady to remind you? Fire the cannons and kill them." When had the orcs ever seen such terrifying source energy weapons before? In just a few short seconds, they had been caught off guard. The 4 source energy cannons were ready and a terrifying energy storm was brewing in the valley. These source energy cannons were strengthened versions of the source energy cannons. Although they were still using the white crystal oil cannons, they were several times stronger. With a single shot, normal Earth spirit cultivators would be instantly killed and Heaven spirit cultivators would be heavily injured. Now that 4 cannons were firing at the valley, what kind of scene would that be? Countless storm rifles and destroyer machine guns suppressed them, not letting the orcs fight back at all. The 4 cannons fired 3-4 times and the gap in the valley became larger. Other than the Orc Great Commander and a few stronger ones who were still holding on, the others had already lost their lives to the cannons. Ha, ha, you're all too useless. Nangong Yun jumped down from the cliff. Miracle City's people, it's time to kill the enemy, immediately charge with me. Miracle City experts kept jumping out from the 2 sides of the mountain and large amounts of elites charged out from the valley. The Orc Great Commander was wildly surrounded, so how could he block the already injured Orc Great Commander? Nangong Yun slashed through his neck and ripped off the Orc Great Commander's head. The enemy leader has been executed. The enemy leader has been executed. The Miracle City people instantly cheered. The battle on this side was just the beginning. Battle Banner City's carefully planned strategy was now completely in Miracle City's hands. Each hidden team was surrounded by Miracle City and almost no one could escape. This kind of elite team was almost completely annihilated. Miracle City rewarded them based on merit. The natives who participated in the battle this time were all promoted or rewarded. The soldiers never thought that the army would have this kind of benefit and their morale was instantly raised. The undead spiritual radar had just been tested and this completely dispelled the doubts in the locals' hearts. Miracle City didn't need to worry about being ambushed at all. Meng Qinggu promptly announced that all production would resume as usual. Miracle City didn't have the urgency of a battle and quickly returned to the bustling scene from before. Meng Yingying was once again filled with admiration towards Chu Tian. This thing is too powerful, we don't need to be afraid of being harassed anymore. Why didn't you take it out earlier? Chu Tian helplessly said, the undead tower requires large amounts of dark and death-attributed rare materials, we don't have a lot of these things in stock. Didn't we have no other choice this time? We can't be careless. Battle Banner City has suffered 2 heavy losses, they will definitely fly into a rage out of shame. When everyone was feeling proud, only Meng Qingwu was still very cautious. Miracle City's army isn't strong enough. Although they have powerful source energy weapons, it isn't time to start a city war yet. Chu Tian said with a smile, young miss, you're worrying too much. Although Miracle City isn't strong enough, we're on the defensive side. Even if Battle Banner City really attacks, we have no reason to lose. Battle Banner City has suffered such a heavy loss, perhaps they won't dare act rashly. What does the young miss think they will do next? They will definitely ask for reinforcements. Meng Qingwu gave a soft sigh and said, this is also one of the things I'm most worried about. Miracle City doesn't have any allies in the Forest of Chaos and the Eternal Forest won't help us, but it's hard to say for Battle Banner City. Not to mention that Battle Banner City has the shadow of the Savage Highlands behind them. Who knows if the Savage Highlands will send experts or troops to interfere? The young miss worries were reasonable. Miracle City had displayed strength that exceeded everyone's expectations twice. Although it was enough to attract the attention of various powers, Miracle City was still isolated and could only rely on themselves no matter what happened. Fortunately, Meng Qingwu looked at the man beside her with an indifferent expression. Miracle City and the company still had that fellow Chu Tian to rely on, so she could only hope that he would make a shocking move at a critical moment. Chapter 482. The Battle Banner City's great commander did not make a single contribution and was killed in a single day, not a single one could escape. If the Bramble Flower Town matter could be explained as Miracle City using despicable methods and unknown weapons, what else could they say now? The one who ambushed them was Battle Banner City. Miracle City did not just have a strong offensive ability. They also had a watertight defense. This matter couldn't be prevented from spreading through the forest. The Orc City did not have any production or creativity, they mainly relied on protection fees, extortion, and robbery. Now they had suffered 2 consecutive losses, which was a large blow to Battle Banner City. Not only had they lost 2 spirit transformation experts, they had also lost all of Battle Banner City's face and reputation. How could they collect protection fees in the forest? City Lord Cao seemed to have disappeared after learning of this matter and no one saw him in the city for several days. He didn't come out to calm the situation or announce a strategy. The discussions in Battle Banner City continued for 3 days before Cao finally appeared again. He announced a general meeting to discuss how to solve the problem in front of them. There's nothing to say. We'll directly fight it out with them. Gather the troops and slaughter all of Miracle City's people. The suppressed rage of Battle Banner City's generals and advisors all erupted at once. This great shame had to be washed away with blood, otherwise how could Battle Banner City continue to stand in the forest? Cao faced the generals who were sharpening their blades, but his attitude was very cold. There was no change in his expression at all as he used his eyes to look at the troll old man holding a cane sitting in the first seat on the left. I am also very angry about this matter, but in this special period, everyone must remain calm. This was the giant demon clan's guest elder, Kino. He was currently Cao's chief advisor. After the Vice City Lord and Great Commander were killed, Kino's position in Cao's group had skyrocketed, and he was now the number 2 figure in Battle Banner City. We were defeated because we underestimated Miracle City too much. We can't judge how many cards Miracle City has hidden, so we can't act rashly. Kino, have you been scared out of your wits by Miracle City? Battle Banner City has hundreds of thousands of warriors, would they be afraid of Miracle City? Although Gino's position in Battle Banner City was already the second in command, as an outsider, it wasn't easy to accept him. Especially in this kind of situation where everyone's opinion was completely different, he was naturally ostracized by the generals. I didn't say we won't fight. Cao ignored the clamoring generals. Let Kino speak his opinion. Reporting to the city lord, Miracle City's momentum has grown and the morale of the people has reached the peak. The surrounding tribes cannot be turned and will only work with Miracle City. Battle Banner City still has a strong army, but even if we ignore the unexpected factors and directly take down Miracle City, there are still 3 major problems with doing this. Nonsense. What's wrong with attacking Miracle City? Are you from Battle Banner City or not? Kino didn't care about these brainless boorish people at all, he just slowly said, first, from these 2 performances, Miracle City's strength is not weak, this is an indisputable fact. There will be losses under a strong attack and the gains won't make up for the losses. Second, it is impossible for Miracle City to take the initiative and there are many people eyeing this fat piece of meat. These fellows haven't made a move yet because they are just watching from the sidelines, waiting for us to fight with Miracle City and then reap the benefits. How could we let them have their wishes? Third, Miracle City's City Lord is directly appointed by the Elven King and Miracle City's Vice City Lord is the Elven King's daughter. If we attack Miracle City, we will inevitably offend this peak forest of chaos expert. In summary, using the entire city's strength to fight Miracle City to the death is not rational, we need to change our strategy. The orc generals were all filled with righteous indignation. But thinking about it, Kino's words weren't without reason. Cao softly asked, do you have a solution? Kino cupped his hands, our first non-war method was to pressure Miracle City into joining Battle Banner City. Now that this strategy has failed, we can't solve this problem without a large-scale war, so we must fight, but we need to make a special plan. Since they had to fight. How should they fight? This one thinks that in the current situation, it is better to share it with many than to swallow it all. Kino slowly explained, there are many forces eyeing Miracle City in the forest, so instead of waiting for both sides to be heavily injured and waiting for them to reap the benefits, we should use this chance to unite all the forces and attack Miracle City together, sharing the benefits together. Doing this will reduce our losses and increase our chances of victory, as well as avoiding future worries. Cao closed his eyes, how do we divide it? Cities and powers allying together, this was not strange in Miracle City. The problem was that everyone had their own plans and wanted to obtain more benefits, so it was very difficult to divide it evenly. The city, treasures, resources, and source stones, we don't want them, let them fight for them. Kino slowly said, we'll steal large amounts of people in the name of revenge, seizing the chance to capture Miracle City's city lord, Chu Tian, and the production and research staff. The large cities in the forest don't know Miracle City's true value, only seeing the superficial benefits. We'll let them fight for the treasures and land. If we throw away these hot potatoes, we can avoid quite a bit of trouble and conflict, and we can obtain benefits that everyone won't be greedy for. In the future, when Miracle City's technology is used by Battle Banner City, it will be too late for them to find out. The orcs looked at each other in blank dismay. How could there be such a thing as taking over a city and not taking anything but people? All right. Cao opened his eyes and a glow flashed in his eyes, I'll leave this matter to you, I want to see the results as soon as possible. I won't disappoint the city lord's hopes. Kino left Battle Banner City to visit the nearby cities as an envoy. An explosive piece of news appeared in the Forest of Chaos. In the Winged Race's Cloud Peak City, 100,000 winged race soldiers moved out. They were like a gray cloud that covered the sky as they charged towards Battle Banner City. In the Green Giant Race's Jadeite City, 100,000 green giants passed through the mountains, crushing countless trees and forests along the way. They were like bulldozers as they charged towards Battle Banner City. Other than that, there was news that the underground world's spirit insects had sent out an army of over 100,000 spider race spirit insects under the orders of a spider to gather in Battle Banner City. When these unusual signals gathered together, there was a message that a war was about to erupt in the forest. The power behind the Winged Race's Cloud Peak City was the Dragon's Ridge. The power behind the Green Giant's jadeite city was the giant mountain range. The underground race was a power under the mysterious Spider Queen. In other words, other than the sea race in the Western Sea and the elves in the Eternal Forest, almost all the superpowers in the Forest of Chaos had gathered together, clearly pointing their spears at Miracle City. Of the 4 allied cities, other than the underground world's spirit insects that were relatively mysterious and not known to many people, the other 3 cities were large cities in the center of the Forest of Chaos. Miracle City didn't have a high chance of winning against any one of them, not to mention the 4 cities working together. After a few days, outside Battle Banner City, an army of several 100,000 spread out over several miles. The winged race looked similar to humans, only they had a pair of giant wings like a bird. They were a rare flying race, being born with the ability to fly. The 100,000 winged race could completely suppress Miracle City's weak air force, directly destroying Miracle City's facilities and defenses. The Green Giant race was a subspecies of the giant race. They were muscular and had dark green bodies. They were over 3 meters tall and their bodies were not inferior to the ogres or minotaurs. Their skin and flesh were hard to penetrate and they had boundless strength, comparable to berserkers. The 100,000 green giants attacking at the same time, this terrifying scene was hard for normal people to imagine. The battle strength of the spider soldiers was not weak. They were good at using poison, making traps, and had strong scouting abilities. They were especially good at digging tunnels, having the ability to attack enemies with earth spikes and earthquakes. It was hard to defend against them and they were very cunning. Finally there was the orc army from Battle Banner City. The orcs were brave and they were definitely the core battle strength of the battlefield. The alliance this time covered the sky, the ground, and the ground. The battle strength gathered was definitely overwhelming and Miracle City could not resist at all. The winged race leader directly announced, "We want Miracle City's source stones and materials." The green giant leader said, "Miracle City's city belongs to our jadeite city." The spider race leader said, "The spider race is interested in the mines and Miracle City's underground research facility." Good, good, everyone has come from afar, of course I won't let you suffer a loss. Cow raised his wine cup high up and loudly said, "Let us drink this wine together and destroy Miracle City in one fell swoop, erasing them from the map of the Forest of Chaos forever." Good, we'll destroy Miracle City. Make those damn humans scram out of the forest. The leaders saw that Battle Banner City did not fight for benefits and they were all very surprised. It was probably because Battle Banner City had suffered 2 losses at Miracle City's hands, so benefits were not important to Battle Banner City anymore. The most important thing was to destroy Miracle City as soon as possible to restore their face. The allied army of the 4 cities was officially formed. This cooperation had never been heard of in 100 years. The local tribes in the forest that were wavering all sided with the allied army without any suspense. There was no other way. Although Battle Banner City was cruel, the allied army was too strong. These 4 cities were all first-rate cities in the center of the Forest of Chaos, with experts like Clouds and powerful armies. Green City could only be considered second or third-rate. Even if they were renamed Miracle City and taken over by Chu Tian's group, what could they change in such a short period of time? Even if they brought out all the source energy weapons, with the amount of troops Miracle City had, it was impossible for them to block the elite armies of the 4 cities. Miracle City would definitely lose this battle. This was because in front of this overwhelming strength, Miracle City had no allies and the Eternal Forest would not help them, so it was useless no matter what they did. Countless forest bandits and natives were forced to join in, and their numbers numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Like this, all the large and small powers in the area were pointing their swords at Miracle City. This was an unprecedented crisis. Miracle City could be razed to the ground in an instant. Chapter 483. Vivian reported the situation to Chu Tian. "Big brother Chu Tian, I've already completed the task." "Is that so?" Chu Tian was busy strengthening the divine servants, but when he received Vivian's call, he immediately stopped. Your speed isn't bad, I'll remember your merit. Go and have a good rest first. In a valley in Miracle City, Chu Tian had placed a spiritual gathering array, gathering most of Miracle City's spiritual energy here. It was not inferior to the great Zhou country's 6 spiritual mountains, it was not inferior to any naturally formed cultivation treasure land on the continent. After all, this was a place he created. The spiritual energy in the Miracle Mountain range was all gathered in this valley by the spiritual gathering array, therefore it was even more pure. It was even possible to use it to cultivate immortal herbs. Chu Tian felt like he had entered a paradise when he entered the valley. The valley was filled with blooming flowers. The flower fairies had moved a small portion of the flower fairy garden over. Miracle Commerce's tens of thousands of living herbs were all planted here and taken care of by the flower fairies. This was one of Miracle City's secret gardens. There were several hundred flower fairies living in the Miracle Gardens. The flower fairies were aloof from worldly affairs, so they liked this kind of environment. The Miracle Gardens was personally modified by Chu Tian, so the spiritual energy here far surpassed the flower fairies' garden. The flower fairies had already considered this their home. The little fox's eyes lit up as it charged into the medicine field, but it was stopped by a group of flower fairies. Lulu stood in front of the fox with her hands on her hips. Little fox, are you here to steal food again? Are you worried about being spanked? Chu Tian bent down and grabbed the fox by the neck. He looked at Lulu with a faint smile on his face. It's been a long time since we last met. Are you used to living here? Ayaya, why did you come? Lulu and the flower fairies all called out as they surrounded him, chattering non-stop. This place is pretty good, it's not worse than the flower fairy garden at all. Moreover, we often rehearse movies and make spiritual spaces, so life is much more interesting than before. Only big brother Chu Tian, you're really something, not coming to see us at all. Could it be that you've already forgotten about us? Sorry, I'll definitely come often in the future. Chu Tian said perfunctorily and went to the center of the garden. There was an empty space here that had been specially cleared. It was about 100 meters in diameter, and there was a 6-pointed star-shaped formation set up. If one looked carefully, they would find that each of the 6 corners of the hexagram was a subspace capture array, which was the original technology of the space warehouse. In the middle of the hexagram was a hexagon formation. Its structure was very complicated and profound, and it was connected to the 6 subspace capture formations. There were several silver energy pillars surrounding the hexagram array. Each one was around 10 meters tall, simply like a row of towers. These were all used to power the source energy array. Chu Tian checked and confirmed that there were no problems. Vivian was quite meticulous in her work. Have your sisters come over. Chu Tian said to Lulu on the side, we need to start working. Lulu and the flower fairies revealed serious expressions. They knew what Chu Tian wanted to do, this was something that the flower fairies had wanted to do for thousands of years. If Chu Tian could really do it, he would be a great person that could create miracles. Take out the seed first. Lulu took out a normal-looking seed. This seed did not have any special characteristics, it was simply like a stone that could be picked up from the side of the road. Please place the seed in the center. The entire process will require the support of the flower fairies. The flower fairies carefully placed the seed in the center of the hexagram array. Several hundred flower fairies surrounded the seed with their hands and a faint glow was released from their palms. It wrapped around the seed and slowly seeped into the seed. There was no effect at all. The essence of the flower fairies could nourish top-quality immortal herbs, but it had no effect on the seed at all. It was like it was a normal stone. At this time, Chu Tian began to open the source energy array. The 6 spaces were captured by the source energy array and the primordial space aura was extracted from them. Finally it was directed to the center of the hexagram array and like a sponge absorbing water, the seed instantly swallowed the spatial aura. After around 10 minutes, There was suddenly an almost undetectable cracking sound. On the rough surface of the seed, there was actually a small crack that appeared. There was suddenly an incomparably thick energy that was released from inside. When Chu Tian felt this energy, he felt like all the meridians in his body had been opened. What kind of ancient and pure life energy was this? Ah! There's a reaction. There's a reaction. The flower fairies cried out in pleasant surprise. But there was just a small change, and for this stone to completely germinate, it was not something that could be done in a single day. Chu Tian felt traces of energy leak out and his meridians became clear. If there was a bit more, he didn't know what effect it would have. Interesting. Was this the legendary tree of life? Chu Tian said to Lulu, there might only be one chance like this. If we fail, it will be even harder to awaken the seed next time. You have to focus all your attention. Even if the sky falls down, you can't do anything, do you understand? Yes. We will definitely succeed. The flower fairies' voices were a bit trembling. Awakening the ancient tree of life seed, this was their dream for thousands of years. When Chu Tian found Vivian, she was eating fruits while chatting with Meng Yingying and Nan Gongyun. Big brother Chu Tian, how is it? You've done pretty well. She was almost tired to death in this period of time, but there was nothing she could do about it. Who told only 3 people in Miracle Commerce to have spatial abilities? Chu Tian definitely wouldn't personally do this, and Meng Yingying's mirror image ability was only half-baked. Like this, who else could do it but her? She was very tired, but being able to play her unique role made Vivian feel very proud. At least it was better than working in the city lord's castle all day. After all, in terms of managing a team or a city, she couldn't even compare to a single finger of Meng Qinggu. What did big brother Chu Tian want to do? Did he really think he could awaken the ancient tree of life seed? Whether it was the flower fairies, the elves, or the Treants, they had all been studied for over 10,000 years, this was impossible. So many things have happened in the past few days. Those green frogs deserved to be unlucky. Vivian took a hard bite of the fruit, like she was treating the fruit as City Lord Cow. She used her teeth to crush it, provoking our miracle city. They're tired of living. Right, right. The 2 girls nodded. Miracle City was becoming more and more prosperous from the chaos. Miracle City was not just a city managed by Miracle Commerce, it was also the perfect home that everyone worked together to create. No matter who it was, they were filled with feelings for this city. Sirs, sorry to disturb you. Zero's voice suddenly came through the speaker in the room. The Vice City Lord has an urgent matter, she asks you to see her in the discussion hall. Meng Qinggu had an urgent matter? They didn't dare be slow. Vivian teleported and everyone arrived in the discussion hall. Chu Tian saw a figure he hadn't seen in a long time. She had a graceful figure, long white hair, and the characteristics of a spirit beast. It was the fox beauty Dolores. Dolores was Miracle City's finance minister and was in charge of managing the city's caravans. Wasn't she away all this time? Why did she suddenly come back? She most likely used a rare return city scroll to instantly return to the city. Seeing her panting and anxious appearance and Meng Qingwu's serious expression, it seemed like something big had happened. Young miss, what happened? I'm afraid it's not a small matter. Meng Qingwu said, let's listen to the information Dolores brought back first. The fox caravans finally found a few partners with great difficulty, but they've all chosen to separate themselves from Miracle City in one night and even want to expel the fox people. Dolores spoke of the recent matters. I've finally found out the reason after asking around. They're all prepared to join the 4 Cities Alliance to deal with Miracle City. 4 Cities Alliance? Meng Yingying felt this was strange. What 4 Cities Alliance? You don't know, but Miracle City's recent performance has made the surrounding powers drool. Because of Miracle City's fast development and strength, these large powers feel threatened and have already become the target of everyone in their area. Dolores said with a serious expression, Battle Banner City, Jadeite City, Cloud Peak City, and Crypt City. These 4 cities have decided to work together and have mobilized over 500,000 people, all of whom are their elites. The most terrifying thing is that their momentum is too strong this time. There are many large tribes and local powers in the Forest of Chaos that want to fish in troubled waters. Their troops are quickly growing and I suspect they will surpass 1 million people. Everyone was dumbfounded. 1 million? 1 million people scale. And they were gathering the strength of 4 cities. Like this, Miracle City had no chance of winning no matter what. What is the current situation with the gathering? Meng Qinggu quickly asked, how much time do we have to prepare? There's no time. When I came back, the 4 cities had already gathered and the forest tribes and locals had responded. Dolores said with a pessimistic expression, Miracle City was transformed from the gnomes' Green City, so whether it is in terms of defense or diplomacy, they are very weak. We can't find any allies at all and we can't resist this power. Our current situation is very bad. Miracle Commerce has met a large problem this time. Meng Qinggu had guessed that Battle Banner City would use external forces, but she never would have guessed that they would gather this kind of strong force. How could Miracle Commerce just meet trouble? This was simply a calamity. What should they do? What should they do? Everyone's eyes fell onto Chu Tian. Who would have thought that Chu Tian would spread out his hands? Don't look at me like that, I'm not a god. With the 4 cities working together, even if I have heaven-piercing methods, I won't be able to change anything in this little bit of time. Even Chu Tian didn't have any methods. Could it be that Miracle City really had no hope? Dolores's face instantly turned ashen. All these days of hard work were going to turn into bubbles like this. You don't need to worry, there will be a way in the end. Chu Tian suddenly said in a profound voice, Vivian, can you take me to the Eternal Forest? You want to go to the Eternal Forest? Humans can't enter that place. What are you going there for? I think it's time to have a serious talk with the elves. Chapter 484. This seemed to be the only way out. Would the Eternal Forest help them? Those old-fashioned elves didn't want to be involved in disputes, not to mention that behind the powers dealing with Miracle City were the strongest powers in the forest. The Eternal Forest and the elves always protected themselves, it was almost impossible for them to be involved in this kind of fight. Chu Tian helplessly waved his hand, no matter what, we have to try, otherwise we can only wait for death. Vivian hesitated for a few seconds before nodding, all right, we'll try. Meng Qinggu was still a bit in disbelief. Chu Tian, you really plan on begging those stubborn old men in the Eternal Forest? Do I look like I'm joking? Other than the Eternal Forest, there is no other power that can save us. Can you convince them? It doesn't matter if I can convince the elves or not, but they will definitely send their troops. Where did Chu Tian's confidence come from? Was he this certain that the elves would save Miracle City? I'll leave Miracle City to you. Chu Tian patted Vivian's shoulder, there's no time to lose, let's go. Vivian left space without another word and the 2 of them instantly moved several hundred miles away. Although Miracle City was far from the Eternal Forest, with Vivian's spatial abilities, this distance didn't count for anything. When Vivian's strength was about to run out, the 2 of them appeared outside the Eternal Valley. There was a white stone path covered in fluorescent moss. Vivian pointed at the long path and said, this is the only entrance to the Eternal Forest. The Eternal Forest's environment was very special, it was similar to a secret realm. Other than this white path, there was no other path into the Eternal Forest. Even if they deviated half a foot from the path and walked in the same direction, they would never be able to enter the Eternal Forest. Because the Eternal Forest's spatial structure was very special and there was a very high-level barrier set up, the white path was the only entrance. This made the Eternal Forest a paradise that was easy to defend and hard to attack. The elves lived inside, free and rich, so they were aloof from worldly affairs. Vivian was a bit uncertain in her heart, me bringing you here is already breaking the clan's rules. There will definitely be elven experts guarding the Eternal Path, so whether we can enter or not will depend on our luck. It's okay, let's give it a try. Vivian saw that Chu Tian wasn't slow from beginning to end, as if everything was under his control. Her heart instantly calmed down. There was nothing in this world that Big Brother Chu Tian couldn't handle. Since Big Brother Chu Tian was this confident, then she would go all out. The worst result was being locked up for several decades. What did this bit of trouble count for saving Miracle City? Stop! Who are you? Chu Tian had just walked a few hundred feet away from the trail when he suddenly felt a cold wind blowing on his left and right. Out of nowhere, more than a dozen elves appeared, each with a fully drawn bow. The two elves at the front were pointing their swords at Chu Tian. The guards of the Eternal Forest. Vivian quickly stood up and said, "Don't misunderstand. I brought him here." "Your Royal Highness Vivian." The leader, a mature-looking elven woman, was a little surprised. "Why did you bring a human to the Eternal Trail? Don't you know that this is a serious violation of the clan rules? Although you are the Elven King's daughter, the Elven Council has the final say in the Eternal Forest." Vivian quickly explained, "This is Miracle City's City Lord Chu Tian. He was personally appointed as the City Lord by Royal Father. He is helping our Eternal Forest develop and manage the city, so he is considered a member of the Eternal Forest. There is nothing wrong with me bringing him here." This reason wasn't even enough to convince herself. Not to mention convincing the Eternal Forest's guards. What Vivian never thought was that when these elves heard Chu Tian's name, their eyes lit up. "Ah, this is the famous Mr. Chu Tian. Put down your weapons, it's a misunderstanding." Vivian's eyes popped out. It can't be. Chu Tian was very surprised. Didn't the elves want to cut humans to pieces? These elves' attitudes were too good. Was it because he was handsome? The leading elf looked at Chu Tian with a gaze of worship. "There are many things produced by Miracle Commerce in our Eternal Forest, especially the video disc player and the magnetic sound machine, which everyone likes. It's a pity that there is no signal here, so we often secretly go to places with signal to listen to Miracle Commerce's channel." "That's right." Another elf said, "When will you cover this place with the signal? This way we won't have to go through so much trouble." "Ha, ha, ha, easy, easy." Chu Tian gave a few laughs, "But I've met a bit of trouble. Can you big sisters let me in?" The elves were a bit hesitant. "There has never been a human in the Eternal Forest before. We must report this to His Majesty the Elven King. Please wait a bit." After saying this, the elf flew away. Vivian rarely came to the Eternal Forest. She never would have thought that Miracle Commerce's products would have this many customers among the elves. It was because of these products that the elves' impression of Chu Tian and Miracle Commerce had greatly improved. Perhaps they would really help them. In the end, the elf that reported to Chu Tian did not come back. There were over 100 dark golden armored elven guards holding long blades charging out, quickly surrounding Chu Tian and Vivian. Vivian's face sunk. "What are you doing? Do you know who we are?" These elven guards did not say much as they escorted the two of them into the Eternal Forest. Although their posture was not very good, Chu Tian was the only human to enter the Eternal Forest in the last 10,000 years. The Eternal Forest was filled with an incomparably strong vitality. The sun's well released a warm and bright light that covered the entire forest. There were over 1 million elves living in the forest, using the trees as houses, living carefreely. The beautiful elven songs filled every corner of the forest. The Elven King's palace was grand, hanging off a cliff covered in waterfalls. It was carved from pure white jade, with each detail being filled with an unimaginable sense of art and culture. Chu Tian did not have time to properly appreciate it before he was sent to the Elven Council. Several dozen elven elders had already arrived. The youngest among them was around 40 years old, giving off a gentle feeling like jade. It was like every inch of his body was condensed from the essence of the world. "Royal Father." Vivian's arm was locked by the guards and she quickly shouted, "Make these annoying fellows let go." The Elven King shook his head with a bitter smile. "Vivian, why did you come here? Don't you know that you can't casually enter the eternal forest? The speaker Augusta coldly stood up. Vivian entering the forest of chaos without permission is already a serious violation of the clan's rules, now bringing an outsider in is even more unforgivable. You are that human Chu Tian who likes to play tricks. Making the current young people more and more restless, you are simply a sinner that has broken the 10,000-year tradition of the elves. I didn't pursue this matter, but you came to the eternal forest instead. What is your purpose? If you don't give a reasonable explanation today, don't think of leaving. Although he already knew that the elves were pedantic, he never thought they would be pedantic to this degree. It seemed like Ulysses was already considered good. Chu Tian said in a voice that was neither servile nor overbearing, I'm here to ask for forgiveness. With these words, not only was Vivian stunned, the Elven King, Ulysses, and even the speaker were a bit stunned. Chu Tian came to the eternal forest just to ask for forgiveness. Chu Tian continued to say, I failed the Elven King's trust and couldn't protect the city, so I'm guilty. Augusta looked at the Elven King beside him. City? What city? The Elven King helplessly replied, he's referring to Green City. Your Majesty, you're actually giving Green City to this human to manage? Augusta revealed a look of disbelief. That city does not belong to the elves. What qualifications do we have to manage it? Not to mention that even if it belongs to the elves, the transfer of the city should be decided after the council votes and public opinion. You privately transferring the city like this does not conform to our democratic laws. This is a blasphemy against the elves' etiquette. Our great ancestor Fama once said that democracy is above everything else. Chu Tian suspected that if this old elf kept talking like this, he would be able to talk for 3 days and 3 nights. He quickly gave a cough. The city is already in danger and this one is incompetent, unable to protect it, so I'm returning the city to the eternal forest. I hope that the Sir Elven Council members can take back the city and save Miracle City's millions of citizens. The Elven King asked with knit brows, what happened? Chu Tian truthfully told him everything that had happened recently. Right now Battle Banner City, Cloud Sky City, Emerald City, and Crypt City are working together to attack Miracle City. Only the Eternal Forest's power can turn the tide. I'm willing to return the city and ask the Elven King and the Elven Council members to save Miracle City for the sake of the innocent citizens. The Elven King immediately knit his brows. Augusta immediately jumped up and said, this city was not recognized by the Elven Council, so it does not belong to the Eternal Forest. How could the elves enter a war for an illegal city? The elves have not fought in many years. We are a peace-loving race. In order to make his words more persuasive, Augusta then said, the facts have proven that it is because of this that no matter how many powers have fought in the forest, the elves have not been affected at all. So we do not need extra cities and lands, especially cities that will cause chaos and slaughter. Seeing that you are saving the citizens, we will exempt you from the crime of charging into the Eternal Forest, but please leave this place immediately. The Eternal Forest does not welcome humans. The other Elven Council members all nodded. It was like they were afraid that Miracle City would break the peace of the Eternal Forest. Vivian gave a bitter smile. Most of the Elven Council members were old-fashioned like this. Who could persuade them to send out their troops? Let's see what methods Chu Tian had. Chu Tian's eyes popped out. The Eternal Forest really won't save Miracle City. We won't save them. The Eternal Forest will really abandon Miracle City? This city has always been illegal. All right. Chu Tian revealed a solemn expression. The Eternal Forest does not accept Miracle City, so I asked the council members to sign a contract with me, letting Miracle City cut off its relationship with the Eternal Forest. From now on, Miracle City belongs to me alone. No matter what happens, the elves cannot use any excuse or reason to interfere with Miracle City's internal affairs. What was this human thinking in his head? Chu Tian said with a determined expression, since the Eternal Forest is not willing to recognize and accept Miracle City, in this final moment, why should Miracle City fight under the Eternal Forest's banner? I just want the citizens to fight for themselves in this final moment. Augusta didn't even think about it. it should be like this. You can't go back on your word. The elves are a race of laws, how could we? Alright, sign it. Under Chu Tian's supervision, the Elven Council passed the fastest decision in history. They signed a contract with the humans, announcing that Miracle City was illegal to the Eternal Forest and recognizing Miracle City's independence. From now on, Miracle City would be an independent city. Since it's like this, I'll be leaving. Chu Tian looked at Vivian and said, "This trip is dangerous, I ask your highness to stay in the Eternal Forest." After saying this, Chu Tian took out a scroll and disappeared, leaving behind a dumbfounded Vivian. Chapter 485. Chu Tian spent so much effort running to the Eternal Forest just to sever his relationship with the elves. This was too strange. Could Miracle City still be saved? Vivian wanted to activate the scroll, but Augusta flicked his finger and the scroll flew out of her hand. "What are you doing?" Vivian was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "Return the scroll to me." Miracle City already has no relationship with the Eternal Forest. What is the Elven Princess doing with the humans? Augusta grabbed the scroll and said with a glare, "Not to mention that Miracle City is very dangerous right now. For the princess' safety, please draw a line with humans like Chu Tian from now on." "I'll draw your head." Vivian's palm cut open space, wanting to take the scroll back. In the end, a faint golden light appeared around Augusta's palm and blocked Vivian's power. How could the elves have such an uneducated rebellious princess? Augusta's face sunk. "Your Majesty is too lacking in discipline." "Vivian, you can't be rude to the council chief." The Elven King was a bit embarrassed. He couldn't do anything to this old elf. "You don't need to care about this matter for now. Since you're back, you should stay in the Eternal Forest for a while." "Royal Father, even you treat me like this." "I have to go back, Miracle City needs me right now." "Pay attention to your words. You are an elf and you've already violated enough rules. If you are punished one by one, perhaps you'll face the wall for more than 100 years. Augusta said, "The Elven Council can't let you continue acting willfully. From today onwards, you will have to learn the Elven race's 10 great laws and 96 etiquettes. When your actions conform to the rules of the Elven race, the Elven Council will let you regain your freedom. Even if I die in Miracle City, I won't learn those broken things. This isn't up to you." Vivian wanted to use her strength to escape, but Augusta pointed at Vivian. The difference in strength between them was too big, so Vivian's source spirit was directly sealed and she couldn't use any strength at all. "Bring her away." Let me go, Royal Father." Several elven guards escorted Vivian away. Augusta turned around and looked at the Elf King. "Your Majesty, please forgive me. Think about the princess' future. She is still young and has a lot of potential. Her rebellious personality needs to be polished. As the youngest princess of the elves, she should be a role model for the other young elves." What else could the Elf King say? Although he was the Elven King in name, he had been the Elven King for less than 100 years. Whether it was influence or prestige, how could he compare to this old fellow who had been in charge of the Elven Council for 500 years? Out of the dozens of seats in the Elven Parliament, only a mere 5 or 6 seats belonged to the Elven King's faction. The rest belonged to the conservative faction and the traditional faction led by Augusta. They had been adhering to the etiquette and laws of the elves for thousands of years as their highest standard. Their stubborn thinking was not something that could be easily broken. The Elf King looked at the scroll in Augusta's hand and said, "This scroll seems to have the ability of long-distance teleportation. This is an unheard of technology. This human named Chu Tian has even mastered this kind of spatial technology. I'm afraid that the human race has already progressed at a tremendous pace. The ancestral teachings tell us that benefits will blind our eyes. Excessive development like this will only bring about destruction." Augusta's face was full of disdain as he said, "Only by returning to nature and standing aloof from worldly affairs can we become one with the world and exist forever. This has been the elves' path of survival for tens of thousands of years. Humans have overused their intelligence, abused their military force, and wantonly developed. In the end, they will inevitably become the public enemy of the continent. They are not far from extinction. The other people in the Elven Council nodded. The chairman had said too much. The elves were strong enough to protect themselves. Excess power would cause people to lose themselves, breeding slaughter and evil. Vivian was sealed like this and locked up in a golden copper tree. The Elven Council began to force her to study the Elven Codex as well as all kinds of etiquette books. Those hundreds of pages of books gave her a headache. She bit her pen while angrily complaining, "Big brother Chu Tian, you really are an out-and-out scoundrel. You actually left me here by myself." At this time, a voice sounded from outside, "Your Majesty, why have you come?" "I've come to see Vivian." "You can leave first. Nothing will happen." "Understood." The Elven King walked into the treehouse. When he saw that Vivian was still angry, he helplessly smiled and said, "Are you angry that I didn't help you, or are you angry that Chu Tian left you behind?" "Both angry, both angry. You two are about to make me explode with anger." Vivian almost jumped up when she said this. One was her father who loved her the most, and the other was her most worshipped big brother Chu Tian. These two actually treated her like this. Vivian felt as if she had been abandoned. How could she not be angry? "Silly girl, you've been with Chu Tian for a few months. Can't you see what kind of person he is?" Vivian stared blankly. "What did you say?" "Although I don't know what he wants to do, there must be a reason for doing this." The Elven King looked at Vivian and said, "As for what it is, I think we will find out soon." "Really?" Vivian was full of doubts. However, when she thought of Chu Tian's way of doing things, she felt that this matter was very strange. Could it be that Chu Tian deliberately broke off with the Eternal Forest and deliberately left her in the Eternal Forest? What was his goal? Could Miracle City hold on? Could it be that big brother Chu Tian knew that he couldn't save Miracle City, so he didn't want to implicate me, so he sent me back? Vivian's heart suddenly tightened when she thought of this. At this time, all of Miracle City was in a mess because the news of the Four Cities army gathering had arrived. An army of several 100,000 was charging towards Miracle City. Flags were flying all the way, covering the sky and giving off an aura that could swallow 10,000 miles. Flatten Miracle City. Flatten Miracle City. Flatten Miracle City. The sky above the ancient forest was filled with shouts filled with killing intent. The army spread out over 10 kilometers and the winged race army covered the sky. There were some winged race experts that could even fly 10,000 meters in the air. Once the airships attacked, these winged race people would notice them. The green giant moved like a small mountain, just like a green wave crushing the forest. Wherever he went, it was like he was being bulldozed by a bulldozer, turning the trees into a mess. Over 100,000 orcs were riding war wolves and giant leopards, quickly moving around, surrounding the left and right wings of the green giant. Once they came into contact with the enemy, the orc cavalry would be able to charge at them in a short period of time. The spider race was in charge of the rear and underground, so Miracle City had no chance at all. This kind of scene was rarely seen in the Forest of Chaos. All the locals fell down at the sight of this. They all listed Miracle City's crimes, expressing their irreconcilable hatred with Miracle City. They vowed to join the Four Cities army to attack Miracle City, as if Miracle City was an irreconcilable enemy that killed their families. Wherever the Four Cities army went, there were more and more people responding. Whether it was the tribes or the bandits, they didn't want to miss this chance. Miracle City was finished, there was no suspense in the result of this battle. This was a large forest city that had been in operation for several hundred years. The resources and wealth accumulated were enough to make people drool. Who didn't want a piece of the pie? The commander of this city extermination battle was personally appointed by the Battle Banner City's City Lord Cao. Cao personally leading the troops was enough to show how important Miracle City was. They didn't want wealth, they didn't want land, they didn't want resources, and they didn't want weapons. Battle Banner City had to obtain Miracle City's technology. Send out a message. First, send out 50,000 winged race troops to attack the mountains around Miracle City, destroying Miracle City's defenses and subduing the tribes that submitted to Miracle City. They will occupy a few strongholds for us, and the spider race will build a temporary camp. Yes, Sir City Lord. The messenger quickly sent out the order. A large half of the winged race troops left the main army and covered the sky like a swarm of locusts. They quickly moved towards the mountain range around Miracle City. Fireballs, wind blades, rocks. All kinds of attacks fell down like a wild storm. They did not encounter any decent challenges, and the winged race troops easily swept through the few defensive facilities. Ha, ha! Miracle City is too weak. They didn't even resist at all. It didn't take much effort for the four cities' army to attack Miracle City's perimeter because all the tribes in the mountains around Miracle City seemed to have evaporated. All the tribes were empty. This was a bit strange. Could they have all escaped? Impossible, they all escaped. Why didn't they see them on the way here? Most of these tribes had some savings, so even the smallest mosquito was meat. If they ran into them, they wouldn't let them off. But they didn't see any of these tribes, and they didn't find anything valuable in searching their tribes. Did they all move into Miracle City to take refuge? Strange, with such a large army pressing down on them. Not a single one of the outer forces surrendered. But what did it matter? They were going to be destroyed anyways. Over 100,000 spider race soldiers dug through the mountain rocks and created a temporary camp in less than half a day. Cao led the main army to enter, and various defensive restrictions and barriers were set up. This army of close to 1 million soldiers faced Miracle City. The four cities' army didn't even have a stable footing. There are unknown objects flying over. These must be Miracle City's strange weapons. Cao gave a cold laugh. Have the winged race shoot them down. Miracle City shot out several hundred guided missiles. The Battle Banner City people knew the might of the source energy weapons, and if these things fell into their camp, they would instantly cause large amounts of damage. Therefore, the winged race immediately moved out. This was a race that specialized in speed, with true spirit experts that could easily surpass the speed of sound. Miracle Commerce had just started developing the guided missiles, so there weren't many of them. They were all cut down by the wind blades in the air, and not a single one hit their target. Miracle City has already exhausted all their tricks. Cao was completely assured seeing this. The four cities' army was a three-dimensional army. The winged race was enough to form a strong defense line, making all of Miracle City's weapons lose their effects. Miracle City was already sealed off, without any supplies or reinforcements. Although their weapons were very strong, in this kind of situation, how long could they last? Send down the order. Prepare to begin the first round of attacks. Chapter 486. This is bad. A Miracle City Bear Man soldier ran in front of Nangong Yun in a panic. Elder Sister Nangong Yun. The enemy has taken over the periphery. I can see it, this old lady isn't blind. Nangong Yun was standing on a high mountain. She could see the enemy's main camp in the distance. It was simply like a boundless sea. Damn, they've really invested quite a bit in attacking Miracle City. The mountain around Miracle City was now taken over by the four cities' army. Miracle City was using the inner mountain ridge as a base to defend. They had no choice but to give up the periphery like this because Miracle City had to shrink their defensive perimeter, so they could gather more strength. Everyone was filled with fear. What should we do now? Nangong Yun's brows jumped up. What do you think we should do? Beat them up for me. It was true that the four cities' army couldn't be stopped, but this didn't mean that Miracle City would be taken advantage of. Although Miracle City didn't have a protective barrier that covered the entire city, there were several hundred green protectors that could support a small barrier. Meng Qinggu quickly took out the stock of the miracle commerce and the various source energy weapons, even the weapons that had been sold to the Great Summer Country's army. There were over 500 source energy cannons, over 30 strengthened source energy cannons, and tens of thousands of heavy firearms. The miracle commerce's foundation was all revealed. The tribes around Miracle City were all very loyal, not a single tribe betrayed them. These over 2 million locals all brought their families to Miracle City. The stronger youths took the initiative to participate in the battle, contributing quite a bit to Miracle City's defense. Dongfang Haoren was quickly called back, even Arnold and the others were quickly called back. Even Meng Yingying and Dolores had to participate in the battle. Many experts of the Great Summer Country were sent over to help. Miracle City had gathered all the battle strength they could. This was definitely a life-or-death battle for Miracle City. Hong! Hong! Two large sounds came from the western mountain range. Nangong Yun received Zero's voice on her cell phone. Attention, there are enemy troops trying to attack Miracle City from underground. Because they entered our minefield, they were stopped. Nangong Yun took out a scroll containing information about the enemy. This enemy map was a piece of leather-coated material. The second Miracle Smart Brain controlled the undead spiritual radar to detect the life signals in the Miracle Mountain range once per second. After processing the data, it would be sent to the central Smart Brain 0 and 0 would send the data to the front-line commander's hand. There were two front-line commanders. Nangong Yun was in charge of the southern line and Dongfang Haoren was in charge of the northern line. Each line was divided into several areas and each area had its own troops. Dolores was in charge of the rapid response and emergency forces, while Meng Yingying was in charge of dispatching airships and air forces, and Meng Qinggu was in charge of overseeing the overall situation. Humph, idiot, you're courting death. Nangong Yun could clearly see several troops trying to launch a sneak attack. Miracle City had already expected the Spider Warriors to use this method, so they had stored source energy mines all around Miracle City. If these Spider Warriors approached the mines, it would be strange if they weren't blown up. Zero's voice sounded again. Attention, the enemy is approaching in a large scale. Their main target is the southwest direction. I have already fired the interceptor missiles. Commanders, please prepare for battle. Was it finally coming? Because the battlefield was too big, the naked eye couldn't see the entire situation. Nangong Yun tapped on the enemy's situation map a few times and the enemy's situation map immediately changed. From the life signal map, it suddenly turned into the Heaven's Eye airship's high-altitude reconnaissance map. Nangong Yun could clearly see that there was a large group of winged men charging in her direction. These fellows were very cunning. They were moving close to the mountain peaks, so the naked eye couldn't see them. There was no doubt that they were trying to catch Miracle City off guard. Nangong Yun gave a cold laugh. 9 o'clock, source energy cannons, fire. The 80 source energy cannons were aimed at the gap between the two mountain peaks. Although nothing appeared, they didn't care about that. They just followed the order and the cannons began to fire. The moment the source energy cannons fired, a large amount of figures appeared from behind the mountain like a dark cloud. The source energy cannons landed right on top of them, instantly catching the winged men off guard. A large amount of them were instantly killed, causing several hundred casualties. Nangong Yun broke out in laughter. These damn birdmen aren't staying in their nests and are actually following the green frog to their deaths. Let's let them see Miracle City's might. Cannons, guns, crossbows, and javelins. Miracle City's advanced source energy weapons worked with the locals' traditional crossbows and javelins. All kinds of lights kept blooming in the sky. The beautiful light was incomparably dazzling and the terrifying roar was deafening. The winged men's agile figures kept moving through the sky. After all, this was the elite army of a forest city and each winged man was a 1 in 100 expert. Their movement speed was just too fast, so most of Miracle City's attacks missed. All kinds of wind blades and flames kept flying at the Miracle City guards. The green protectors spread their arms and released protective barriers one after another, stopping the winged men from destroying the defensive line. At this time, a large group of green giants were like gorillas, charging over the mountain peaks. Each one of them was like a human diamond, daring to charge through the storm rifles with their flesh and blood. The orc knights on the ground turned into countless black streams as they charged through the valley. The battle between the two sides instantly reached its climax. Cal watched from the distance and couldn't help being shocked. He was very happy that he didn't attack Miracle City alone, otherwise with Battle Banner City's strength, even if they sent out their entire army, they wouldn't have been able to take Miracle City. Even if they did take Miracle City, Battle Banner City's army would have been wiped out, so the losses wouldn't be worth it. It was just like Kino said. In the end, it was all for the other forces. Miracle City's performance was just too unexpected. Miracle City didn't have a large protective barrier. These mountains to Miracle City were not a barrier at all, rather they would hinder their counterattack to a certain extent. Miracle City was a typical forest city, so its area was just too big. So, this battle couldn't be compared to a normal attack and defense battle. The defending side needed to guard a large area that was filled with holes. The attacking side could take advantage of the gaps and attack the other side's weak points from all directions. Miracle City was not only at a disadvantage from the beginning of the battle. In terms of military strength, Miracle City's army was mainly made up of trained berserkers, several tens of thousands of new soldiers, Green City's gnomes, and finally the local army. This kind of mixed army was not only uncoordinated, they weren't strong at all. The four cities' allied army was not the same. This army's main force was made up of the elites of the various cities, it was not something Miracle City could compare to. Miracle City that didn't have the right time, place, or people had blocked the wild attacks of the allied army. The source energy weapons filled the giant gap in battle strength. The city's dynamic intelligence system filled the holes in the city's defenses. It was because of this that Miracle City blocked the four cities' allied army, or at least blocked the first attack. Cal had been attacking for close to an hour, but he still couldn't break through Miracle City's defenses. The four cities' army was already in chaos, and if they kept fighting like this, they would lose more than they gained, so they immediately withdrew their troops. This was truly a bloody battle. The Wings race lost 20,000 men, the Green Giants lost 15,000 men, the Spider People lost 30,000 men, and the Orc Cavalry lost 25,000 men. A total of 90,000 people had died. Cal's face instantly turned livid. Although Miracle City's losses weren't small, this kind of loss far surpassed his expectations. The Wings race leader complained to Cal, City Lord Cal, Miracle City is much stronger than we imagined. Our Wings race has lost over 20,000 men, but we can't even break through the other side's defenses. I dare bet that Miracle City's losses aren't as high as ours. Are you doubting this City Lord's abilities? Cal gave a cold snort. Miracle City clearly has some kind of unknown detection ability. During the battle, I sent out at least 10 sneak attacks, but no matter which mountain valley they came from, they were all intercepted by Miracle City. As for the might of their weapons, you should have experienced it. Just tell me what to do. The Green Giant leader rudely cut him off. Our losses are this serious, the blood of our clansmen can't be spilled for nothing. Miracle City must be captured. No rush. City Lord Cow sat in his seat and said with a calm expression, today's battle wasn't smooth, but Miracle City's losses aren't small. Their weapons have been used up quite a bit and they rely on these weapons too much. We just need to gather large amounts of forest tribe warriors and gather them into an army of 1,000,000. We can attack from many directions and attract their firepower, reducing the pressure on us, and we can definitely break through Miracle City in one fell swoop. Everyone nodded. This was reasonable, they would do this. In the end of today's battle, although the four cities' armies were in chaos, Miracle City's firepower was clearly weaker. There was no doubt that for Miracle City, it was very hard for them to resist this kind of fierce attack, and it consumed quite a bit of their battle strength. When Nan Gongyun returned to the city lord's castle, her head and face were covered in burn marks and her clothes were in tatters. On the battlefield today, the area she was in charge of was the focus of the attacks. Nan Gongyun was a lunatic. Although the other side had experts like clouds, she still charged forward without a care for her own safety. If it wasn't for the starlight immortal body and the great nirvana scripture, she wouldn't have been able to survive even if she had 10 lives. Dongfang Haoran and the others also came back. They were all heavily injured and the situation was not good. Everyone reported their situation one by one. Although the defensive line had been defended, the price they had paid was too large. Dolores said with a frown, the source energy mines in several minefields are almost gone. If we fight again, we won't be able to resist the other side's spider army. If they couldn't resist the spider army, the consequences would be serious. These fellows might even appear in the center of Miracle City. At the critical moment of the battle today, I used several Heaven's Punishment airships to reverse the situation. In the end, when we were halfway through throwing in the bombs, 5-6 bird people found the airships. Meng Yingying indignantly said, those bird people were at least at the Heaven Spirit realm and they were too fast. The airships couldn't escape in time and the Heaven's Punishment airships were all destroyed. There's also me. Nan Gongyun slammed her fist on the table, they destroyed 60% of the cannons here. I'm afraid we won't have enough firepower when we fight again. Elder Sister Qinggu, do we still have any cannons in stock? Give me another 100 to replenish them. We don't have any. Meng Qinggu also felt a headache coming on. She shook her head with a sigh, the cannons of the Great Summer Country's 4 states Lakes fleet have all been sent here. We have already used up all our strength and resources in this battle, there's no other way. Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay. What should they do? Miracle City's defensive line had not been broken through, but their current defensive power had been greatly reduced. The second attack of the 4 cities' army would be even more fierce and Miracle City would not be able to resist with their current situation. Chapter 487. The Heaven's Eye airship overlooked the entire battlefield. The radar made it impossible for people to hide. No matter how fast Cao's army moved, they couldn't escape Meng Qingwu's grasp. Now that Cao's army had a large change, they should be preparing for an all-out attack. This meant that there would be an even more intense battle. Miracle City's greatest disadvantage was their lack of a city-protecting barrier, but their source energy weapons were their greatest advantage. Cao clearly wanted to spread out Miracle City's firepower, making it easier for the main force to enter Miracle City. His plan wasn't bad. Zero, analyze the situation. Yes, Sir Vice City Lord. Zero's voice came from the speaker in the room before falling into a few seconds of silence. It was most likely he was running a supercomputer to complete a large calculation. The second smart brain has analyzed the data and the results are as follows. The number of enemies is between 800,000 and 900,000 and it is still increasing. The enemy has been deployed, the first south area has 50,000, the second area has 80,000, the third area. From the current situation, most of the life signals are moving to the south, but their life force is not high, it is a bluff. There are large amounts of strong life signals on the west side. Although there aren't as many as the south side, it is still the main force of the enemy. I suggest we deploy the heavy weapons to the west and use the ground troops and source energy weapons to block the south, immediately. The most intense attack today was the southern defense line. Cao's main camp was also on the south side. According to normal logic, this was the main focus of the attack. Right now, Cao's army's deployment was a little off. They seemed to have placed a small number of troops here. They seemed to have a lot of troops, but in reality, it was just a bluff. The main force of the 4-city coalition army had circled to the west side to launch an attack, crossing hundreds of miles. Did they want to catch Miracle City off guard? With the second smart brain's warning system, this kind of thing would never happen. After Meng Qinggu understood the situation, she still couldn't be optimistic. Can you analyze the success rate of the next attack based on the current weapons and army situation? Zero was silent for a few seconds before saying, I'm sorry, Vice City Lord. Because the battlefield is too big and there are too many variables, it already surpasses my calculations. Adding in the lack of data on the enemy, I can't give an accurate number. But if we use a rough calculation, I think it's less than 30%. Less than 30%? It wasn't just Meng Qinggu who knit her brows this time, the others all felt very serious. Where is the city lord now? Dongfang Haoren was a bit confused. In this kind of critical moment, wasn't it time for Chu Tian to show his usefulness? He should have a way. Meng Qinggu gets angry at the thought of Chu Tian. This bastard brought Vivian to the Eternal Forest, but the result was nothing and he even dragged Vivian down with him. Forget it, we can think of another way. Who knew that after Chu Tian came back, he had been hiding in the garden? No one knew what he was doing. Miracle City can't hold on, we have to call him out no matter what. Just wait, I'll call him. Meng Yingying dialed Chu Tian's number and was about to reprimand Chu Tian. However, before she could open her mouth, Chu Tian said a lot of things first. What did you say? Oh. Wait a moment. Meng Yingying put away the cell phone and looked at the others with a strange expression. Chu Tian is calling everyone to the garden. Miracle City was already in danger and Chu Tian was calling them to the garden. Meng Yingying explained, Chu Tian is saying that Miracle City's predicament is about to be solved and the solution is in the garden. He wants us to quickly go and help. Nan Gongyun called out, what about Miracle City? What if the enemy attacks again? Dongfang Haoren took the initiative to say, me and the great summer marquises have a good understanding of the source energy weapons, so we can temporarily defend the situation. Since the city lord is confident in solving the problem, we should ask everyone to quickly go. They could only do this. Chu Tian's way of thinking was something normal people couldn't understand, but they trusted Chu Tian and hoped that Chu Tian could do something shocking. Therefore, they gave the command to Dongfang Haoren and the other great summer marquises and they quickly ran to the miracle gardens. Chu Tian's spirit-gathering array had a camouflage effect, so they couldn't see the situation inside from the outside. However, once they entered the barrier, it was like they had entered a different world. The spiritual energy in the garden was sealed and didn't leak, so it was a place filled with life energy. Now, it was enveloped by an incomparably vigorous life force. The entire garden was covered in a layer of faint green light. With every breath he took, he could feel pure life force pouring into his body. The life energy here was strong and pure, just like a giant energy field. Even if they were cut by a knife, the terrifying life energy would quickly heal the wound. Chu Tian was standing beside a 6-pointed star array. This primitive spatial aura gathering device had been in operation for several days. It was like a squeezer, squeezing out the primitive spatial aura from the space. Since it was in operation, it had squeezed out at least 100 spaces. Several dozen energy pillars had been completely used up. These energy pillars were refined from Oldman Small Town's new oil. It could keep Miracle City running for several months, but it had been used up in just a few days. We're about to succeed. We're about to succeed. Sisters, everyone put in a bit more effort. Lulu had led over 100 flower fairies to fight for several days. They looked very tired now, but they were very excited and happy. In the center of the flower fairies, there was a thing floating in the air. It was a bead-sized thing that was completely translucent green, releasing a bright light. The energy in the entire garden was released by this little thing. This. What is this? Nan Gongyun stared at the glowing thing with wide eyes, something that can release such a strong life energy, perhaps it is a supreme divine item. Miracle City has this kind of thing, how come I didn't know about it? Meng Qinggu knit her brows as she observed it for a minute. Large amounts of heavenly book memories appeared in her mind. The Tree of Life Seed, this is a fully activated Tree of Life Seed. The tree ants and flower fairies had asked Chu Tian to help awaken the seed, but the flower fairies were usually in charge of it, so even Meng Qinggu had never seen it before. The reason why Meng Qinggu could recognize it was mainly because of her special source spirit. Meng Qinggu's source spirit had countless ancient memories sealed in it. Only when she met the corresponding item would these memories awaken. Meng Qinggu finally understood what Chu Tian wanted to do. "Young Miss, Yingying, Nangong, what are you looking at?" Chu Tian pulled everyone into the array without any explanation. The tree of life has already been activated, now is the best time for it to germinate. We have to lock in the energy for the flower fairies, allowing it to display its greatest effect. This seed's growth is related to Miracle City's future, so whether it succeeds or fails, quickly come over. There was no time to slowly explain. Several people poured their spirit energy into the source energy array with Chu Tian's knowledge, releasing an energy barrier around them. After the energy the flower fairies poured into the seed was bounced off, it was reflected back when it hit the energy barrier. It would not disappear and would continue to be used. These over 100 flower fairies worked together with all their strength. The tree of life seed absorbed more and more essence and the light became brighter and brighter. The life energy it released was even more vigorous, but this life energy couldn't break through the little barrier Chu Tian had placed. It was completely sealed inside and it formed a glass barrier filled with green light. Chu Tian, Meng Qinggu, Meng Yingying, and Nangong Yun were all soaked in this ancient life energy. Although the energy was very strong, this energy did not harm their bodies and could even be absorbed by their bodies, increasing their cultivation bases. After all, this was an ancient tree of life seed. Even a seed could be considered a divine grade seed. Chu Tian could clearly feel his spirit energy growing. The surrounding energy was very rich and if he absorbed it all into his body, it wouldn't be a problem for his cultivation to increase by several layers. However, Chu Tian quickly suppressed this thought. Although it was very tempting to have his cultivation increase by several levels in an instant, this power was crucial to nurturing the tree of life seed. If he absorbed too much, it might affect the seed's germination. His cultivation could increase at any time. The tree of life wouldn't appear again if he missed it. Just like that, time ticked by. At this time, the sounds of killing filled the sky outside Miracle City. Cao's army launched a wild storm of attacks at Miracle City. Miracle City's defensive firepower had clearly weakened by quite a bit. Not only did Cao's main army retain their battle strength, they also gathered large amounts of forest tribes. Under these waves of attacks, Miracle City was like a small boat struggling in a wild storm. Miracle City can't hold on much longer. Kill, kill. Kill your way in and slaughter them all. The morale of the four cities' army was high and Miracle City's defenders were pushed back again and again. Cao revealed a cold smile. He understood that there was no suspense in this battle. Miracle City's destruction was already a foregone conclusion and the city was destined to turn to ashes. He made a hand signal to Kino and the other experts beside him. When they attacked Miracle City, they would immediately capture all of Miracle City's high-level members and researchers. As for resources, let these brainless fellows steal them. Just as Cao's plan was about to succeed, an unexpected situation occurred. There was a strong fluctuation in the center of Miracle City that spread several hundred miles in the blink of an eye. It was like the earth was breathing. The wind and clouds in the sky changed as lightning flashed and thunder roared. Hong! Several dozen bolts of lightning fell down. They suddenly fell in the center of Miracle City. The second wave. The third wave. The fourth wave. It experienced an entire 9 waves of divine lightning baptism. Finally a vast pressure was released from the center of Miracle City, instantly covering a range of over 1,000 miles. What kind of powerful divine might and power was this? The forest that had been destroyed in the battle was instantly revived and new shoots came out. The wounds of the soldiers were instantly healed, making people feel like they were bathing in a spring breeze. The impact of this power and the range it affected was not something normal people could understand. No matter who saw it, their minds would turn blank and there would only be one thought left. A spiritual god had appeared. That's right, only the birth of a spiritual god could have this kind of momentum. Whether it was the dragon palace in the depths of the dragon's ridge, the black dragon sleeping in countless crystals, or the titan standing on top of the giant's palace covered in lightning, or the savage highlands high above, or even the ruler hiding in the darkness underground, or the large characters in the western sea, they were all shocked by the movement in the center of the forest of chaos. After the great ancient era, why would this kind of power appear? Chapter 488. The thousands of years of peace in the eternal forest was completely broken. The elven singing stopped for the first time in thousands of years and the millions of elves stopped creating art. They all left their little treehouses and gathered in front of the elven king's palace. They were densely packed like an ocean, waiting for the news to be announced. The elven king called for an emergency elven council. Whether it was the gentle elven king or the serious Augusta, they all had serious expressions. Everyone, there is no need to doubt it, this is the power of the ancient tree of life. There was no difference between the ancient tree of life and an ancient spiritual god. After the great ancient era, this kind of divine object could not exist in this world. Although the elves, treants, and flower fairies had tried to make the ancient tree of life sprout seeds for tens of thousands of years, they did not have much hope. Who would have thought that the ancient tree of life would appear again? This had a very high meaning to the elves. The legends say that the wood elves were born under the protection of the ancient tree of life and had not gone extinct since the great ancient era. The ancient tree of life was not just the ancestor of the elves, it was the origin of the elven civilization and the source of the elves' power. The ancient tree of life's birth had a very large meaning to the elves. The treants and flower fairies chose to believe in Chu Tian. It seems like this was the right decision. The elven vice speaker Ulysses' face was filled with excitement and joy. This must be Chu Tian's masterpiece. This is too incredible, he actually did it. Augusta's long white fur trembled a few times. This was also a good thing done by that brat. What kind of divine object was the ancient tree of life? A despicable human, even if he had a bit of intelligence, how could he awaken this kind of divine object? The elven king Lancelot spoke, no matter what the reason is, I think it is fate that has reappeared. This is a large auspicious sign, our race is destined to prosper once again. Only the ancient tree of life has appeared and the entire forest has been shaken, those fellows should have felt it. We have to personally protect the ancient tree of life. Your Majesty is right. Ulysses said in an approving voice, now that the ancient tree of life has appeared in Miracle City and Miracle City is in danger, we can't just sit back and do nothing. This. Augusta was as stubborn as a rock, the eternal forest can never participate in any disputes, this is the 10,000-year rule passed down by the elves. Do we have to abandon the law of the elves? This time, the elven king Lancelot clearly wasn't prepared to give in to Augusta, the elven laws were set down by the ancestors. The ancestors made the laws to regulate the lives of the elves. Now that the era is different, if we stubbornly hold on to the ancestral teachings, it will become a shackle to the elves. The ancient tree of life is the wood elves' faith. We can't abandon our faith and beliefs. That's right. The counselors of the Elven King's faction all stood up. These people all saw the golden opportunity of a lifetime. The Elven code and etiquette had bound the Elven race for tens of thousands of years. If they could take this opportunity to completely break it, the Elven race would have a chance to rise again. No, this goes against the spirit of the elves' laws. Augusta was caught between a rock and a hard place. This matter is of great importance. We have to discuss it properly. After all, it's a master who wants to amend the code. This needs to be discussed by the parliament. There's no time, Sir Speaker. Ulysses stood up with a serious expression and said, every minute we delay now, Miracle City will be in more danger. Perhaps because we are late by a minute, the ancient tree of life will be destroyed. Perhaps because we are late by a minute, not only will the elves regret it for generations, we will become sinners for all eternity. Sir Speaker, do you want to be despised by your descendants and the elves forever? That's right. Sir Speaker. We should make a move. The ancient tree of life is not normal, we can just rebuild it after the law is broken. I think even the ancestors will understand us. This time it wasn't just the reformist elves that wanted to move, even the traditional Elven Council members supported this. It was rare for the Elven Council to be united, but the Elven Council's leader was Augusta. If he didn't nod his head, the Elven Council couldn't make a decision. Sir Speaker has always emphasized that the elves are a civilized race and each elf has the right to make decisions. Let's see the will of the people now. The Elven King did not give Augusta any time to hesitate. The millions of elves in the forest raised their heads in anticipation. The Elven King appeared on the balcony of the castle at this time and his voice spread through the entire eternal forest with the wind. Although it wasn't loud, it was like there was an invisible force that clearly appeared in the ears of each elf. I have a piece of good news for everyone. The ancient tree of life has been reborn. When this was said, the elves broke out in loud cheers. The ancient tree of life is the origin of the wood elves, it has an even brighter power than the well of eternity. The elves will become even more powerful under the protection of the ancient tree of life. The elves instantly fell into an uproar as they excitedly hugged and shouted. This was a historical moment for the elves. But the ancient tree of life is in danger now, it can be destroyed at any moment. The Elven King paused and the entire forest fell into chaos. The elves were all worried for the ancient tree of life. We are now faced with two choices. The first is to follow the rules of the ancestors and stay in the forest. This can avoid fighting and allow us to live in peace, but the ancient tree of life could be destroyed or taken away. The second is to change the laws and leave the forest. We will protect the ancient tree of life and the faith of the elves, fighting for a better era and future for the elves. However, we will also be drawn into the flames of war. There will be blood, sacrifices, deaths, and even more dangers. Now as the citizens of the eternal forest, as someone who has bathed in the light of the well of eternity, please make a choice. As soon as the Elven King's voice fell. Save the ancient tree. Save the ancient tree. Save the ancient tree. The entire eternal forest was filled with waves of voices. Each elf strongly expressed their wishes and each elf was filled with passion. The Elven King turned around. Chairman, I think as the Elven Council's chief and a staunch supporter of democracy, you should make a decision. I don't know if this decision is right or wrong. Augusta's face twitched a few times before he helplessly made a decision. He understood that the ancient tree of life could give the elves a stronger power, but it could also give the elves a strong enemy, causing the eternal forest to be embroiled in an unprecedented battle. The elves were naturally kind and did not like killing. Was this right or wrong? Was this a blessing or a curse? First protect the ancient tree of life, we'll discuss other matters later. All right. Then it's decided. After the chairman agreed, this matter was easy to handle. The Elven Council announced the news and the eternal forest was shaken once again. Each elf returned home and took out the longbows and swords they hadn't used in many years. They were all filled with fierce auras as they prepared to leave the forest to save Miracle City. What are you saying with this mess? Augusta saw that the elves were careless and shouting, it was destroying the elegance and civilization of a race. Although the eternal forest's elves are very strong, Miracle City is too far from here. We won't make it in time if we move like this. The Elven King thought about it. Go, call Vivian over. Vivian had been under house arrest for several days, but her haze had been swept away. Her brows were raised and her face was filled with joy. She came over in high spirits. Royal Father, do you see this? Big Brother Chu Tian did it, he really did it. He is the great benefactor of the elves. I said that he would have a way. Let's not talk about this for now. The Elven King shook his head. Miracle City is in danger, we have to go save them. Do you have more Miracle City scrolls? Vivian knit her brows. This scroll is made from an Eye of the Star fragment. There aren't many left in Miracle City. I only brought this one. Only one. I have a way. Vivian took out an Eye of the Star from her storage pocket. Although I don't know how to make a transport scroll, I can make a transport tower. This Eye of the Star was a cultivation technique that Big Brother Chu Tian left for me. Now we can just make a transport tower in the Eternal Forest and everyone can directly go to Miracle City. How long do you need? At least 3 days. No, 3 days is too long. The Elven King held Vivian's transport scroll in his hand. If it's like this, I'll go first. Vivian's eyes lit up. Royal Father is personally going to Miracle City? That's great. With Royal Father personally making a move, there's nothing to fear from those shrimp soldiers and crab generals. Augusta was a bit worried. Your Majesty is the highest leader of the elves and the ruler of the Eternal Forest. If you personally get involved, perhaps it will alarm Dragon City, Titan City, and Beast King City. The elves are not prepared to directly clash with them. The Eternal Forest hadn't participated in a battle in thousands of years. There had to be a gradual process of adaptation. If we have to fight sooner or later, there is no need to be afraid. Sir Speaker doesn't need to worry. The Elven King gently flicked his finger and the scroll automatically opened, releasing spatial energy. Vivian, I'll leave the matter of building the transport tower to you. Please be assured, Royal Father. It was unknown just how happy Vivian was in her heart. Today's matter was a milestone for the elves, and what made Vivian very happy was that she could build a transport tower in the Eternal Forest without needing the permission of Big Sister Meng Qinggu or Big Brother Chu Tian. After all, this matter happened suddenly. Vivian also had her own selfish motives. She hoped that the Eternal Forest would become better and better. The construction of this transport tower was enough to have an immeasurable influence on the Eternal Forest. The Eternal Forest and Miracle City were destined to be closely linked. The elves' lives would become better and better. Chapter 489. The heaven and earth phenomenon from the ancient Tree of Life made the joint army pause for a moment, but under Cao's strong orders, the army quickly resumed their offensive. Miracle City's situation instantly fell into a dangerous situation. The Spider Race soldiers have already dug a path to Miracle City and are now directly attacking Miracle City. The Wings Race soldiers have already crossed the defensive line and are suppressing Miracle City from the air. The Green Giants and the Orc Cavalry are quickly infiltrating. Miracle City's defenses are already collapsing. This news filled Cao's mind with excitement. Even if Miracle City had risen in the last month or two, their foundation was still a bit lacking. No matter how they struggled, they couldn't block the combined attacks of the elites of the 4 cities. There was no chance of losing this battle, it was just a matter of time. Now that the mountains around Miracle City had been lost, the source energy weapons had been damaged, so they couldn't form an effective defense. The Spider Race came out from all over Miracle City, launching a sneak attack from inside Miracle City. The Wings Race came and went like the wind. With their powerful aerial superiority and flexibility, they were currently disrupting the Miracle City Army's formation, making the Miracle City Army lose sight of them, so there were more and more holes in their defenses. Finally, the Green Giant soldiers and the Orc Cavalry also charged in. The Green Giant's powerful physique could block the light source energy weapons, and the Orc Cavalry's mobility and destructive might were like sharp knives cutting through the defensive line. The defensive advantage of Miracle City's heavy weapons had been completely lost, so they could only engage in close combat with the enemy. The barbarian berserkers led the new recruits to resist the Hulks and the Orc Cavalry, while the gnomes used bows and various spells to resist the winged race's attacks from the sky. The warriors of the large tribes couldn't get involved in this kind of battle between city armies. They were responsible for blocking the gaps and blocking the tribal warriors of Cao's army. Although both sides were in a chaotic battle and cannons and other heavy weapons couldn't be used, Miracle City still had over 100,000 source energy firearms. This could make up for the lack of battle power to a certain degree, temporarily blocking the attacks of the four cities' army. Cao looked at Miracle City fighting. Let's do it. When Cao, Kino, and several dozen Battle Banner City True Spirit Realm experts charged into Miracle City, a small berserker team discovered them and immediately raised their storm rifles to shoot. These densely packed source energy bullets were very strong. Even if a true spirit expert was caught off guard by several storm rifles, they would still be injured. Courting death. Cao waved his hand and the berserkers seemed to be weightless as they floated into the air. Every one of them had several abilities coiled around them like dragons. Their heads and limbs were pulled in 5 different directions at the same time, pulling them out from their bodies and killing them on the spot. Although the storm rifle's power was not weak, it was not easy to kill a spirit transformation expert. Cao grabbed a barbarian berserker's neck and lifted him up from the ground. Where is your city lord? Speak. The berserker had gone berserk and didn't know what fear was. Therefore, he didn't hesitate even if his life was hanging by a thread. He raised the source energy cannon in his left hand and shot it at Cao. Bang! The source energy cannonball hit Cao's protective spirit energy and it actually made him stagger. Cao angrily punched the barbarian berserker to pieces. Search! Kino said to the people behind him, even if we have to turn Miracle City upside down, we have to find that person. All of these people possessed shocking strength, and everywhere they passed, they were clean and efficient as if they were crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, and all those who resisted were beaten to the point of fleeing like rats. There's news. They are all in the garden in the center of Miracle City. Ha, 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 the heavens are helping me. Cao's eyes turned red as he laughed. He led several dozen people and immediately began to move. Let's go. Cao began a slaughter on the way. Miracle City was in chaos, with the spider warriors attacking from the inside and the winged race suppressing the sky. There were large amounts of green giants, orcs, and forest tribe warriors that attacked and plundered Miracle City from all directions. Cao's group was too small, so they couldn't encircle them. A small army couldn't stop them, so these people easily killed their way into the Miracle Gardens. The Miracle Gardens were filled with sacred herbs collected by Miracle Commerce. It was simply a giant treasure house. Even if these experts saw this scene, they couldn't help feeling shocked. They never thought Miracle City would actually be this rich. Although there were many resources in the Forest of Chaos, who didn't want to transplant these treasures so they could use them whenever they wanted? Although these heaven and earth treasures wouldn't rot like normal materials, once they were picked, they would quickly lose their vitality. This would cause the medicinal effects to weaken and finally their value would be greatly reduced. Was transplanting something easy? This kind of precious material was very harsh on the environment it grew in. Each sacred herb not only needed a high-level cultivation technique, it also needed a special environment and fertile soil. At least it was impossible to find such a large herb field in Battle Banner City. These heaven and earth treasures were very eye-catching, but what shocked Cao the most was not them. When Cao and the others looked at the center, they saw a small sapling that was around 3 feet tall. This sapling didn't seem special at first glance, but the sapling was covered in a pure green divine light. The entire garden was covered in this aura and power. It looked like it was 3 feet tall, but in fact, it gave off the feeling of a baby. It should have just been born. Every leaf was bright green, like the best gemstones and jadeite. If the patterns on the leaves were magnified thousands of times, one would see that they were all densely packed innate runes, and every single one of them contained the vitality of heaven and earth. Divine object. A divine object. Although Cao and the others didn't know the origin of this thing, they didn't even need to use their brains to feel that this little sapling had already surpassed the immortal grade realm. It was definitely a legendary divine object that couldn't be found on the continent, and it wasn't even a normal divine object. The eyes of the several dozen people couldn't move away from it at all. Was the heaven and earth phenomenon in Miracle City caused by this divine tree? The divine tree stood there. Although the entire garden was filled with treasures, it was dim and had no attraction at all. What was the origin of this divine tree? No matter where it came from, it wasn't important. Perhaps all the things in the garden added together couldn't compare to this divine tree's value. If they could get their hands on it, even if they couldn't use it, as long as they offered it to the Beast King, they wouldn't need to worry about obtaining large benefits. Aya, this is bad. There are bad people coming. The flower fairies had successfully grown the ancient tree of life, but they didn't even have time to be happy before they felt a killing intent and greedy aura. Although they were exhausted, they still quickly protected the tree of life. Perhaps there wouldn't be a second tree of life in this world. They had to protect the tree of life no matter what. Chu Tian, Meng Qinggu, Meng Yingying, and Nan Gongyun, although the four of them looked a bit tired, they were in an unprecedentedly good state. Because they had absorbed the aura of the tree of life, their cultivations had clearly increased. Chu Tian had already reached the peak second awakened soul layer, the Meng Qinggu sisters had broken through to the second awakened soul layer, and Nan Gongyun had directly reached the peak triple awakened soul layer. This was the result of them sealing their meridians, not absorbing the energy of the tree of life. City Lord Cao saw Chu Tian and Meng Qinggu in the distance. The two of them were wearing the city lord's robes and the expression on his face became even more fanatical. This truly is an unexpected harvest. Meng Yingying tightly clenched her fists as she shouted, "Humph, don't think that we're afraid of you. Do you see this tree? It is the ancient tree of life, comparable to an ancient spiritual god. Once it releases its might, you shrimps will be turned to ashes at any moment." Although she was bluffing and had a fierce appearance, Meng Yingying's threat was like a little white rabbit showing its claws to a big bad wolf. So it's the ancient tree of life? The ancient tree of life itself is not a killing object. City Lord Cao revealed a sinister smile, not to mention how much power can a newly born ancient tree of life produce? While they were talking, City Lord Cao released a red-hot spirit energy that was like a flood dragon coiling around his body. There was no doubt that his eighth true spirit layer cultivation was released. When that strong pressure came, it made it hard for people to breathe. Too strong. Even if the people here worked together, it would be hard to block a single attack. When Miracle City was still Green City, there were several spirit transformation experts. For example, the dead Green Religion Bishop, the undead Religion Lich, and the Druid Prophet Yoda. Yoda couldn't come back from the Great Zhou dynasty. There was no one in Miracle City that could fight. Chu Tian quickly raised his hand and said, "Wait, perhaps we can discuss this." "Stall for time." City Lord Cao said with a cold smile, "This is meaningless, Miracle City is doomed to fall. Even if the Eternal Forest sends reinforcements, they won't make it in time. If you cripple your own cultivation and follow this city lord, I can guarantee you a lifetime of wealth." Chu Tian shrugged his shoulders, "You really don't know how to negotiate. This isn't a negotiation." Cao gave a low roar and released all his strength. He didn't like wasting time, he would first cripple these people. But at this time, with a thought from Chu Tian, the 18 divine servants hiding nearby suddenly charged at Cao at the same time. Cao was a bit stunned, but this sneak attack had no value at all. Kino and the other experts weren't just decorations. Almost in an instant, the divine servants were sent flying like broken puppets. Cao's body was surrounded by a powerful energy as he instantly broke through the sound barrier, charging forward at a speed surpassing the speed of sound. The expressions of the Meng Qinggu sisters and Nan Gongyun all fell. This is bad. At this moment, Chu Tian's eyes narrowed. "You really think you can eat me?" Suddenly, dark clouds appeared in the air and large amounts of lightning flashed. An ancient and deep majestic aura descended onto the world. Chu Tian did not retreat in front of this strong opponent, rather he took the initiative to attack. Chapter 490. Meng Qinggu knit her brows. Did Chu Tian use his main source spirit again? Although this source spirit could increase Chu Tian's strength, there was a large risk in using this source spirit. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Chu Tian would not easily reveal his strength. Cao's hands reached out. Several dozen chains of energy fell onto Chu Tian's body like beams of light. This attack was strong enough to shatter the protective spirit energy of a normal spirit transformation cultivator. Even if Meng Yingying and Nan Gongyun were outside the range of the attack, they could still feel the strong destructive might of the attack. Be careful. The two of them wanted to warn him, but they didn't even have a chance. Several dozen attacks fell onto Chu Tian's body. Cao didn't want to kill Chu Tian, so he didn't directly attack him. When the several dozen chains of energy were about to hit Chu Tian's body, they all exploded and turned into millions of thin threads. Each thread was like a steel needle that stabbed at different acupuncture points and meridians in Chu Tian's body. You want to destroy my meridians? Chu Tian gave a cold laugh and his eyes turned black. It wasn't a normal black, but rather an extremely deep black, just like a black hole. When those thin threads of energy entered his body, it was like a clay ox entering the sea, there was no sound at all. Cao's brows slightly knit as he released another chain of energy. This time it directly hit Chu Tian's body. Although a part of the energy was swallowed, Cao's strength was too strong and most of it still hit Chu Tian's body. In the end, it was bounced off by the starlight around Chu Tian's body. Chu Tian didn't even stop as he charged in front of him. The long sword turned into a black slash. Cao's body released several hundred chains of energy, easily bouncing off the sword filled with destructive might. His palms slammed into Chu Tian's chest at the same time. The starlight protecting Chu Tian's body was finally shattered and he was instantly sent flying dozens of feet away. While he was in the air, he was continuously whipped by Cao's energy chains. Finally, he fell to the ground, creating a large hole in the ground. Chu Tian was just in the peak second true spirit layer and Cao was an expert in the 8th true spirit layer. The two of them had crossed 3 stages, an entire 6 layers of cultivation. This was not a difference that could be measured by any cultivation technique or skill. What made people dumbfounded was, Chu Tian exchanged a few moves with Cao and was forced back. Chu Tian flipped over and jumped up. At least 7 or 8 of his ribs were broken, and his 5 internal organs were not small injuries. His eyes turned green, and an exuberant vitality spread throughout his body, allowing his injuries to heal quickly. This source spirit is, Cao was in a bit of disbelief. Chu Tian had at least 8-9 different attributes and each one was very strong. What he was using right now was the power of life. Chu Tian's ability resonated with the ancient tree of life and the surrounding life energy was drawn in, gathering at an incredible speed. It allowed Chu Tian to recover in the blink of an eye, not leaving a single trace behind. Chu Tian relied on the innate life energy of his main source spirit and the life energy of the ancient tree of life. As long as he had a single breath, he could quickly recover. You truly have some unexpected methods. City Lord Cao was not a normal person. He suppressed the shock in his heart and his strength erupted once again, turning into hundreds of intertwining energy chains. It's a pity, I only want an obedient dog and not a dog that can turn into a hungry wolf at any moment. Fast. Too fast. City Lord Cao gathered the energy chains and wrapped them around his right arm. Then he broke through the sound barrier and turned into several shadows that surpassed the speed of sound. The mind's lamp divine sense was released. Chu Tian's eyes unknowingly turned golden. His divine sense was not weak and after being strengthened by his source spirit, it became several times stronger. His divine sense turned into countless spiritual thorns. Spiritual attacks ignored distance. Therefore this kind of attack was instantly released. City Lord Cao was just about to attack when he felt several dozen thorns stabbing into his brain, causing intense pain. His speed also slowed down. At this time, Chu Tian's golden eyes released another intense glow, endless purgatory. The sky and earth suddenly collapsed, and his entire person fell into a bottomless abyss. The power condensed from his spirit covered all of his senses, and finally constructed a pitch-black underwater world of death. Cao felt like he was being dragged into several 100,000 meters of water. An unbelievable pressure came from all directions. He couldn't breathe or move. City Lord Cao felt a suffocating pressure. At this time, countless thumb-sized fish appeared around his body. These fellows were like the most ferocious piranhas smelling food. They all crazily charged at City Lord Cao, biting his blood, eating his flesh, and drinking his marrow. Scram! City Lord Cao loudly shouted. An air bubble appeared at the bottom of the water. The terrifying strength turned the wild bloodthirsty little fish to ashes. But it was no use. City Lord Cao felt the pressure around him increase as more bloodthirsty piranhas appeared in the darkness. City Lord Cao shattered it once again. After repeating this 3-4 times, he was very tired and could no longer resist. Countless bloodthirsty piranhas charged forward. Cao's flesh was bitten to pieces and there were some fish that entered his stomach, eating his organs without restraint. Even his bones were bitten to pieces and his marrow was sucked dry. This kind of pain was worse than any torture in the world. Finally, City Lord Cao's body was completely eaten. City Lord Cao's consciousness did not disappear. After enduring this great pain, he suddenly regained his senses. Only his body had mysteriously split into two and he was also pressed into the endless sea, unable to move. The feeling of suffocation and pressure was twice as strong as before and there were countless bloodthirsty little fish surrounding his two bodies. Spiritual attack. A spiritual attack. City Lord Cao's will was very clear. He knew that he had fallen into a spiritual illusion. This kind of attack would not harm his body at all, but it could directly attack his mind. It was sinister and terrifying, making people tremble and unable to resist. Everything he saw and felt was a fake illusion, but he could not escape it. This pain and torture was fake, but it could destroy a person's spirit and will. However, just as the countless bloodthirsty fish were about to charge at him again, the heavy pressure in the surroundings instantly disappeared, and the two figures quickly merged into one. The ferocious fish in the surroundings all turned into shadows and disappeared. Cao suddenly returned to the real world. Chu Tian was knocked back several meters by a bolt of lightning, destroying quite a few precious herbs along the way. After Cao recovered, he prepared an attack in his hand and sent Chu Tian flying over 100 meters. Over 100 precious herbs were destroyed in this process. This lightning attack was sent out by Kino. The moment Cao was hit by the spiritual attack, he decisively attacked Chu Tian. Kino was also a spirit transformation expert with a cultivation in the 7th true spirit layer. This was enough to penetrate the starlight immortal body to injure Chu Tian. This is too much of a pity. Endless Purgatory was an incomparably strong spiritual attack because time flowed faster in the spiritual world than in the material world. Even if a normal expert was hit for an instant, Chu Tian would be able to kill them thousands of times in the illusion, completely shattering their spirit and turning them into a madman or vegetable. When he was chased by the Warhound's kingdom's Malam on the prairies, Chu Tian had used this move. Although the difference in strength was too large, it still made Malam lose his battle strength. The current situation was even more complicated than before. The difference between Chu Tian and Cao's cultivation had already surpassed the difference between him and Malam, not to mention that Cao's divine sense was not weak. It was already hard for Chu Tian to barely hit him, so he couldn't create a large difference in time. This caused the attack to be interrupted as soon as it started. Chu Tian flew back. The surrounding life energy wildly surged in, quickly healing his injuries. He flew through the air and steadily fell down, like he had never been hit at all. This truly is incredible spiritual energy. City Lord Cao praised, but his eyes were filled with rage. If it wasn't for the fact that Chu Tian still had a use for him, perhaps he would have already killed him. What other moves do you have? Chu Tian's injuries could be healed with the ancient tree of life, but his divine sense could not be restored. Chu Tian felt his head turn dizzy. It seems like he really couldn't do it. If it was just Cow alone, Chu Tian could deal with him with his main source spirit, but the problem was that there were several experts here other than Cow. Big brother Chu Tian, will help you. Lulu and the flower fairies surrounded him as they sent out essence energy. This essence energy was more effective than any pill, quickly restoring Chu Tian's consumed spirit energy and divine sense. The flower fairies were truly versatile helpers. Cow had already lost his patience, capture them alive and kill the rest. The Meng Qinggu sisters and Nangong Yun's hearts turned cold. They and Chu Tian had transport scrolls in their hands, so if they couldn't hold on, they could hide in the Great Summer Country or the Great Zhou Country. But what about these flower fairies? The flower fairies did not have any battle strength, they would definitely be killed by Cow. Move! Cow's aura erupted once again. Meng Qinggu decisively said, Yingying, quickly take Lulu and the others and leave this place. Meng Yingying did not even have time to move before Cow, Kino, and the others charged over. Chu Tian quickly controlled the recovered 18 divine servants and quickly surrounded them. Overestimating yourself. The 18 divine servants were sent flying like broken dolls again. Chu Tian blocked Cow's attack first, but he was hit by Kino's lightning bolt. With 4-5 experts attacking him, he was instantly heavily injured. Don't let him recover, cripple him. Cow gathered his strength in his right arm and punched at his dantian. If this attack landed on Chu Tian, it would most likely scatter most of Chu Tian's cultivation. This is bad. This was a very dangerous moment. A green vine drilled out of the ground and it was like a green python as thick as an arm. It quickly and anxiously wrapped around Cow's arm. How profound was Cow's cultivation? Not to mention a trivial little vine, even if it was 10 chains made of refined steel, they wouldn't be able to bind him. But now it was just a small vine that could stop Cow's attack without any effort. Chu Tian used his spatial energy to jump out 100 meters, returning to the young Miss and Yingying's side. Nangong Yun quickly asked, Boss, are you alright? Relax, I'm very good. Chu Tian was filled with life energy and all his injuries were instantly healed. When his source spirit slowly came back, no need to worry, Miracle City has already been defended. What did you say? Cow split the vine with a palm and looked up with a serious expression, which expert is this? You actually ruined this city lord's good matter. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.